Chapter 1968. Yi Bu. Looking at the starry sky domain emperor, Longao was curious. He didn't know why this man wanted to see him. No problem. Longao really wanted to know why Yi Bu wanted to see him all of a sudden. There were no eternal enemies in this world, and no eternal friends. Friends could become enemies, and enemies could become friends. The two of them found a quiet place where there was no fighting. Yi Bu took out a stone table and two chairs from nowhere. The two of them sat down directly. Yi Bu, if you have something to say, just say it. Okay, I like your straightforwardness. Yi Bu smiled, looking at the people who were fighting for the keys in the distance. He smiled begrudgingly. I don't know if it's right or wrong to enter the heaven martial plane this time. The mysterious domain is controlled by the divine mathematician. It's not as simple as we thought. Longao didn't say anything because he didn't know what Yi Bu wanted to say. After a while, if I'm not wrong, none of the hundreds of thousands of people who entered the heaven martial plane could leave alive. Ah! What did he mean? Longao was bewildered. No matter what, they were hundreds of thousands of starry sky cultivators, not cabbages on the street. Yi Bu, it's just your guess. It might not be true. Longao was upset. Even if Yi Bu's guess was right, what could he do? What did it have to do with him? Even if all the starry sky cultivators died, it wouldn't affect him at all. In fact, he would gain a lot of benefits, especially the two starry sky territory ancestors and Feng Buxiu. He couldn't wait for them to die. Longao, I want to cooperate with you. I only have one request. Help me leave the heaven martial plane. I don't dare to ask for anything else. Yi Bu, are you kidding me? Yi Bu's face was full of helplessness and frustration. Longao, you don't need to do that. I've observed you for a long time. You're a variable that even the divine mathematician can't control. Perhaps you don't believe in reincarnation, but I can tell you that I believe you can help me. Condition. Being able to form an alliance with a starry sky domain emperor was not necessarily a bad thing. However, Longao wasn't a fool. He and Yi Bu weren't friends yet, so he wouldn't make a losing deal. The conditions were very important. I will do my best to help you. Deal. Longao stood up and looked at Feng Buxiu, who was looking at him from afar. He said, if you are sincere enough, then join hands with me to kill Feng Buxiu. He was probing because Longao did not know if Yi Bu was sincere or not. A starry sky domain emperor was too dangerous. He didn't dare to take the risk. Even though they had formed an alliance, he still had to be vigilant. He was not surprised at all. Yi Bu seemed to have guessed that Longao would be like this. He nodded and said, it is my duty. In the distance. The moment Yi Bu and Longao walked together, Feng Buxiu was already staring at them. Although he didn't know what they were talking about, he had a bad feeling about it. One Longao was already hard enough to deal with. If Yi Bu joined them, how could he deal with them? Seeing the two of them walking towards him, Feng Buxiu was frightened. He turned around and left angrily. He knew clearly that Longao and Yi Bu had reached an agreement. Thus, they were going to deal with him now. Feng Buxiu's speed was fast, but Longao didn't mind him at all. As his cultivation base had reached level 8, his space teleportation power had increased greatly. They chased after each other. The three of them were strange. This time, they didn't enter the Territory Ancestor Peak to find the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor's godhead or the key to the Star Secret Domain. Instead, they chased after Feng Buxiu. Yi Bu, you're a traitor. One day, I will kill you. Feng Buxiu snorted. Yi Bu didn't care about Feng Buxiu's threat. As he had chosen to form an alliance with Longao, he wouldn't hesitate anymore. They didn't talk. Anyway, the two of them attacked Feng Buxiu from the front and back. Feng Buxiu was helpless against the two of them because he knew clearly that he wasn't strong enough to fight against the two of them. If it was one-on-one, he wasn't afraid at all. Yi Bu, Longao, that's enough. Qi Tian's figure suddenly appeared, looking at the two of them coldly. Qi Tian, this has nothing to do with you. Get lost. Hearing Longao's words, not only Yi Bu was dumbfounded, But Feng Buxiu was also dumbfounded. Who was Qi Tian? Qi Tian was the starry sky territory ancestor, a peerless existence in the vast starry sky. Longao dared to talk about such a supreme existence. However, after thinking about it, it was understandable. After all, Longao's situation was different. How could a normal person face hundreds of thousands of starry sky cultivators? After all, Longao was a madman. Qi Tian didn't get angry. Instead, he smiled and said, Longao, if you're capable, fight me fairly. If you don't have the confidence and capability, get lost and shut up. Don't think that you're great just because you got the starry sky territory ancestor's godhead. Fair. With a mocking face, Longao stared at Feng Buxiu, who was standing beside Qi Tian. He sneered and said, Feng Buxiu, I will definitely take revenge for Uncle Murong. I hope you'll continue to hide behind Qi Tian. Otherwise, Longao didn't finish his words, but the meaning in his words was clear. Feng Buxiu's face turned gloomier and uglier. Longao, I'll be waiting. Just as Longao was about to turn and leave, Qi Tian suddenly said, Yi Bu, if you insist on following Longao, don't blame me for being merciless. With your strength, do you think you can escape? Qi Tian's meaning was simple. Longao had a spatial divine tool and could disappear at will. Even Qi Tian couldn't do anything about it. However, Yi Bu's situation was different. Yi Bu didn't have a spatial divine tool and couldn't disappear at will. In that case, if Qi Tian wanted to attack, he could kill Yi Bu at any time. Just as expected. Yi Bu was worried. He was afraid of this. After all, Longao's enemies were two starry sky territory ancestors. With his strength, he couldn't resist the pursuit of two starry sky territory lords. However, he had a feeling that Longao was definitely a variable that could help him. Yi Bu chose to believe in himself. He chose to believe in Longao. Even if Qi Tian killed him, he wouldn't regret it. Since he had made up his mind, he would stick to it until the end. Qi Tian, one day, I will surpass you. At that time, I will trample you under my feet. With just you. I'm sorry. You don't mean that. How could Qi Tian give his opponent a chance? Even if he couldn't kill Longao, it would be easy to kill Yi Bu. Thus, Qi Tian took action. Author's note, the 6th chapter is here. Chapter 1969. Before Qi Tian could make a move, Longao had already disappeared with Yi Bu rage. Endless rage. Qi Tian had never imagined that not only could Longao disappear on his own, but he could also disappear with Yi Bu. No wonder Longao was so fearless. Thank you for saving me, Lord. Thinking about it now, he felt a lingering fear. If it weren't for Qi Tian's timely help, he believed that he would have been in a precarious situation. He wouldn't have been able to withstand their joint attack. In the distance. Yi Bu, be careful. Nodding his head, Yi Bu understood what Longao meant. After all, he had already provoked Qi Tian. If Longao wasn't by his side, he would be in great danger. Next, I will do my best to help you obtain the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead. With your strength and situation, I believe that once you devour the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead, it won't take long for you to break through to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead. Ah! This surprise came too suddenly. If it were anyone else, Yi Bu wouldn't have believed them. Only Longao was different. Previously, Longao had snatched the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead despite being besieged. If Longao was willing to help him, it couldn't be better. Was Longao really willing to help him obtain the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead? Even if they had formed an alliance, Yi Bu still found it hard to believe. Humans were selfish, especially him and Longao. They couldn't be considered friends. Not to mention Longao, even he wouldn't give up the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead for nothing. After all, if he could devour the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead, it meant that he would definitely become a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor in the future. As if he could guess Yi Bu's thoughts, Longao smiled and said, the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead might be the most important thing to you, but it's worthless to me. Yi Bu didn't say anything. I care about my family and sect the most. Yibu, you and I aren't friends, but I hope that we can become friends in the future. If you can devour the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead, I only have one request. Please say it. Just like what Longao had said, the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead was the most important thing to Yibu. No matter what the request was, Yibu would agree. In front of the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godhead, everything had to yield. We'll talk about it later. The cosmic domain over God Spark has appeared. As expected. Longao wasn't the only one who had sensed it. Everyone had sensed another Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead on the Territory Ancestor Peak. It was the second Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead out of the 10. Everyone attacked again. Hong Lin and Qi Tian still couldn't change their bad habits. Previously, because they had fought each other, Longao had taken advantage of them. But now, the two of them fought again. This time, the others had learned their lesson. Since the two of them had already started fighting, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If he could devour the cosmic domain ancestor godhead, he would turn around and flee. In the vast sea of people, trying to find a trace of a person was almost like trying to find a needle in the ocean. Right at this moment, a 10,000 zhong long reincarnation sword chi slashed at him. Although he wanted the Universal Star Territory Ancestors Godhead, he was still afraid of death in the face of death. One by one, they dodged and fled. His chance had arrived. Longao was among the crowd. Seeing that his reincarnation sword chi had avoided everyone, he teleported away. In the next second, Longao appeared beside the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godhead. Longao, you, ignoring everyone, Longao grabbed the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godhead and disappeared on the spot. No one could stop Longao. The two Starry Sky Territory Ancestors, who were in the middle of a fierce battle, discovered that Longao had snatched away another Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godhead. Longao had snatched the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godheads again and again. If they could tolerate it, what else could they tolerate? There were only 10 Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godheads, and Longao had already snatched 2 of them. At this rate, who knew if the remaining 8 Godheads would be snatched away by Longao? Longao, get out here. Longao had already left the Territory Ancestor Peak with Yibu. Although he wasn't afraid, he had snatched the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godheads twice in a row. He would definitely infuriate them. If he chose to stay, there would only be disadvantages and no benefits. Longao didn't show up. Everyone was furious, but they didn't have a place to vent their anger. The 2 Starry Sky Territory Ancestors were enraged. They directly attacked the surrounding cultivators. In just a blink of an eye, more than 30 cultivators had fallen. In the current situation, cultivators in the Starry Sky were like cabbages. They weren't worth much. Everyone was stunned. They retreated and looked at the 2 Starry Sky Territory Ancestors in fright. No one had thought that the 2 Starry Sky Territory Ancestors would kill so many people out of anger. Were they crazy? Longao, I'm going to kill you. The 2 of them were fighting to the death, but Longao had snatched the Godheads first. Not to mention the 2 of them, everyone else was enraged. Outside the Territory Ancestor Peak. Until now, Yibu was still panic-stricken. He had seen arrogant people who didn't care about their lives, but he had never seen such a reckless person. Longao didn't put anyone in his eyes, especially the 2 Starry Sky Territory Ancestors. Anyway, the first time was a gamble. The second time was a suicide mission. Longao, I admire your courage. Yibu was thrilled. According to Longao, once he got the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godhead, he would let Yibu swallow it. Thus, once Yibu swallowed the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godhead, he could become a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor. However, he didn't know how long it would take to refine the Godhead. How could Longao not know what Yibu was thinking? However, he had risked his life to get the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godhead. If he gave it to Yibu, he was worried that Yibu would attack him after he became a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor. What should he do then? Why would he have another Starry Sky Territory ancestor as his enemy? People were the easiest to change. Longao simply did not know what kind of person Yi Bu was. Thus, Longao directly said, "Yi Bu, I believe you should be very clear about our situation. I will also go straight to the point. I do not believe you. I know." Yi Bu knew very well that if Longao really chose to believe him, then it would be really strange. "Longao, what do you want?" "It's simple. A bloodline contract." Although Longao knew that he wasn't being honest, he couldn't do it for nothing. Even if Yi Bu didn't attack him in the future, he couldn't complete this task. After all, it was a Starry Sky Territory ancestor's godhead. Bloodline contract. He wasn't surprised. Losing his freedom or choosing the bloodline contract? Which one should he choose? Author's note, Chapter 7 delivered. Chapter 1970. How should he choose? If it were something else, Yi Bu wouldn't have chosen the bloodline contract. After all, once he chose the bloodline contract, it meant that he would have to submit to Longao forever. At that time, Longao only needed one thought to kill him. Should he give up? It was the Starry Sky Territory ancestor godhead. Yi Bu knew clearly that even if he didn't want it, there were many others who would. Swallowing the Starry Sky Territory ancestor godhead meant that he could become a Starry Sky Territory ancestor in the future, a peerless expert in the vast universe. Who would be able to resist such a temptation? Gritting his teeth, Yi Bu didn't talk much and directly started the bloodline contract. As for Longao, at this moment, Longao didn't feel soft-hearted or anything strange because he had risked his life to get the Starry Sky Territory ancestor godhead. He couldn't just give it to an outsider. Thus, he would rather give it to Shachong. After the bloodline contract was completed, if Longao chose not to give Yi Bu the Starry Sky Territory ancestor godhead, Yi Bu wouldn't be angry. However, Yi Bu chose to believe in Longao. Even Yi Bu himself didn't know why he had chosen to believe in Shachong. Longao was a man of his words. He gave Yi Bu the Starry Sky Territory ancestor godhead and said, "Yi Bu, I believe that the Starry Sky Territory ancestor godhead isn't the strongest existence in the vast universe. Now that you've become a Starry Sky Territory ancestor, follow me and I will help you go further." "You know?" Hearing Longao's words, Yi Bu was astounded. If the other cultivators in the vast universe knew about this, it would be fine. However, Longao had never left the vast universe, so he was a little surprised to know about this. Yi Bu swallowed the Starry Sky Territory ancestor godhead and found a quiet place to sit with Longao. "Longao, you're right. There are stronger existences above the Starry Sky Territory ancestor realm. However, we can't look up to them." Just as expected. Since he had become a Starry Sky cultivator, Longao always had a guess that there were stronger existences beyond the Territory ancestor realm. As for why the stronger cultivators didn't enter the Sky Martial Plane, the reason was simple: they didn't care about the Starry Sky secret territory. "Yi Bu, tell me." Longao really wanted to know. Yi Bu thought for a moment and said, "Since you'll be entering the vast Starry Sky in the future, you'll know about this sooner or later. I'll tell you now. There are so many experts in this vast universe. Above the Starry Sky Territory ancestor is the Territory Lord who can control the power of the star boundary. Sector Lord? Starry Sky Sector Master? Longao finally knew what the existence above the Territory ancestor realm was. Was the divine mathematician the Territory ancestor of the Starry Sky or the Territory Master of the Starry Sky? Intuition told Longao that divine mathematician wasn't ordinary. He could be the so-called Territory Master of Starsky, not the Territory ancestor of Starsky. In the legends, the Territory Master of Starsky has great power. He can draw his territory in this vast universe and create his star boundary. This Sky Martial Plane belongs to the territory of a Territory Master. This kind of existence was invincible in this vast universe. Being able to draw his territory in this vast universe made his blood boil. He didn't ask further. Longao understood clearly that with his current competence, not to mention the Territory Master of Starsky, even the Territory Ancestor realm wasn't an existence he could touch. Yi Bu, You should focus on refining the starry sky territory master god divine spark. Before you break through to the territory ancestor realm, don't enter the territory ancestor peak. With Yi Biyu's current competence, entering the territory ancestor peak was a dead end. He couldn't always protect Yi Biyu. Anyway, he had his own business. Yi Biyu understood Longao's meaning. He nodded and said, I won't enter the territory ancestor peak easily. Yi Biyu wasn't afraid of Feng Wuchang. He was afraid of the two territory ancestors. Since he had offended the territory ancestors, once he entered the territory ancestor peak, he knew what would happen. Yi Biyu, how long do you think it will take you to completely refine the starry sky territory ancestor godhead? It was the most important thing. Yi Biyu thought for a while and then said, even if I try my best, I'm afraid I won't be able to refine the starry sky territory ancestor godhead in less than 1 year. 1 year. Under normal circumstances, 1 year was just a blink of an eye for the Martial Artists Alliance. However, the situation was different now. 1 year was too long for Longao. Although he had broken through to level 8, Longao knew himself well. With his current competence, not to mention the territory ancestor, he couldn't even deal with the territory emperor of Star Sky. It was all thanks to Yi Biyu. Although Shapotian had swallowed the starry sky territory ancestor godhead, Shapotian's situation was different from Yi Biyu's. Shapotian was just a level 2 starry sky cultivator. If he wanted to refine the starry sky territory ancestor godhead and break through to the territory ancestor realm, it would take him more time than Yi Biyu. If Yi Biyu needed 1 year, Shapotian would need at least 3 years or even longer to completely refine the starry sky territory ancestor godhead. 1 year is too long. Yi Biyu, is there any way to shorten the time? In Longao's knowledge, it would be best if he could refine the starry sky territory ancestor godhead in 1 month. With Yi Biyu's help, he didn't need to be afraid of the two territory ancestors. It was also the real reason why Longao couldn't wait to let Yi Biyu swallow the starry sky territory ancestor godhead. If there weren't any strong enemies or the territory ancestor peak, Longao wouldn't use the starry sky territory ancestor godhead. He would leave it for his family. If his grandfather, parents, and 3 wives could swallow the starry sky territory ancestor godhead and break through to the territory ancestor realm, they would be safe. Even if the starry sky territory master was in the vast universe, as long as they didn't go there, they would be fine. However, since it had come to this, even if Longao didn't want to, he had to do it. He had to deal with the enemies first. Anyway, whether it was Shapotian or Yi Biyu, they were his subordinates. As long as they could break through to the territory ancestor realm, it would be beneficial to him. I don't have a good solution. Master, I have one. Hearing Long Fu's voice, Longao was cheered up. Then, Long Fu told him how to upgrade his territory ancestor godhead. Long Fu's face was solemn because the solution Long Fu told him was a risky one. It wasn't something he could decide alone. He needed Yi Biyu's opinion. Yi Biyu, I have a solution that can help you refine the starry sky territory ancestor godhead in 3 days. However, it's very dangerous. Do you want to do it? If you don't want to, I won't force you. However, I can tell you that it's very dangerous. P.S. Little Nine is so anxious. Today, it rained for a whole day. Sometimes, it thundered. Little Nine had to turn on the computer several times. The screen almost flashed. Today, I can only write 2 chapters. Chapter 1971. Longao, I'm willing to do it. Yi Biyu didn't even ask what the method was, but he agreed without hesitation. Because Yi Biyu was very clear about Longao's thoughts, and also knew about the current situation. This method is very dangerous. Longao explained the method Long Fu had told him. I will do my best to help you. According to your situation, there's a 50% chance of success. It's enough. Whether it was for Longao or for himself, it was a good thing if he could refine the starry sky territory ancestor godhead and break through to the starry sky territory ancestor realm in 3 days. Everyone was mutually dependent. Longao also wanted to give it a try because he couldn't wait any longer. Usually, 1 year wasn't a problem, but it was a little too long at the moment. Longao didn't conceal anything as he brought Yi Bu into the dragon seal space. Longao couldn't do anything, so it was up to Long Fu. Inside the territory ancestor peak, 2 starry sky territory ancestor godheads were snatched by Longao. Everyone was enraged, especially the 2 starry sky territory ancestors. Longao had snatched the starry sky territory ancestor godheads right under their noses. It was a great humiliation. The first time was an accident, but what about the second time? However, the 2 of them were depressed to the extreme. Not to mention Longao's talent, Longao had the 7 orifices exquisite pagoda. The 2 of them couldn't kill Longao. Besides being angry, they were worried because they didn't know if Longao would appear again. After all, there were only 8 starry sky territory ancestor godheads left. If Longao continued like this, did it mean that all 10 starry sky territory ancestor godheads would be taken by Longao? If that was the case, the 2 of them even had the thought of killing themselves. They were starry sky territory ancestors, but they were humiliated by a small level 8 starry sky cultivator. It was a humiliation, a great humiliation. Longao had to die. The 2 of them had already shed all pretenses of cordiality, but because of Longao, the 2 of them had turned from enemies to friends, preparing to join forces to deal with Longao. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. After 2 universe domain ancestor godheads had appeared, a 3rd universe domain ancestor godhead never appeared. As for the keys, more than 20 of them had appeared, but hundreds of starry sky cultivators had already fallen in order to obtain more than 20 keys. If this situation continued, once all 1,000 keys appeared, coupled with the universal star domain ancestor godhead, who knew how many more people would die? Bloody winds and bloody rain. Longao. Seeing Longao and Yi Bu swaggering in from the entrance, everyone's faces were filled with anger. Huang Xiaolong had assumed that Longao would flee after obtaining the starry sky territory ancestor godhead. He had assumed that Longao would never show himself again after devouring the starry sky territory ancestor godhead. At the very least, Longao wouldn't show himself before refining the starry sky territory ancestor godhead. Get out of my way. Anyone who dares to come near me will be killed without mercy. If it had been in the past, no one would have cared about Longao. A measly grade 8 starry sky cultivator dared to behave atrociously in this place. He was simply courting death. But now, the situation was different. They couldn't judge Longao with common sense. Although he was just a grade 8 starry sky cultivator, he had many trump cards. Not to mention cultivators of the same grade, even Starry Sky Territory Emperor or Starry Sky Territory Emperor didn't dare to be careless. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. Longao brought Yi Bu to the 2 universe domain ancestors, smiling without saying a word. Yi Bu, you've devoured the Starry Sky Territory ancestor godhead? Both Hong Lin and Qi Tian's expressions changed when they sensed Yi Bu's aura. That's right. Both of them looked at each other because they couldn't believe that Longao would give the Starry Sky Territory ancestor godhead to Yi Bu. Was Longao really so generous? When the surrounding people heard that Yi Bu had devoured the Starry Sky Territory ancestor godhead, they thought that Longao was too generous. Starry Sky Territory ancestor? Hong Lin and Qi Tian looked at each other and saw a trace of astonishment in each other's eyes. According to Yi Bu's situation, even if he could devour the Starry Sky Territory ancestor godhead, he would need at least a year to refine it. He might not even succeed, let alone becoming a Starry Sky Territory ancestor. But now, Yi Bu's aura had clearly reached the Starry Sky Territory ancestor realm. The 2 of them couldn't figure out how Yi Bu had done it. Are you surprised? Nonsense. Of course, they were surprised and even shocked. Because this matter was simply unimaginable. Even though they had seen it with their own eyes, they were still unwilling to believe it. With Yi Bu's situation, how did he manage to refine the Starry Sky Territory ancestor godhead and break through to the Starry Sky Territory ancestor realm in just 3 days? Longao, how did you do it? The 2 of them weren't fools. Of course, they knew that it wasn't Yi Bu's doing. They knew Yi Bu's situation too well. The only explanation was that Yi Bu had Longao's help. That was why he could refine the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead and break through to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm in just 3 days. Longao had too many secrets. Not to mention the others, just the fact that he could refine the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead faster was enough to drive people crazy. Why should I tell you? It's really funny. Ignoring the two of them, Longao coldly looked around and said, "From now on, no matter who it is, I won't show mercy to anyone who dares to provoke me. I'll kill them without mercy." No one doubted Longao's words, and no one doubted his competence. Especially now, Longao had a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Realm expert by his side. He was like a tiger that had grown wings. No wonder why Longao was so arrogant all of a sudden. After all, he had the right to be arrogant. To make an example of the others, before Longao could finish, Yibu, who had been silent all this time, suddenly dashed into the crowd. Right after that, screams arose one after another. In just a few seconds, dozens of Starry Sky cultivators had fallen, including a level 9 Starry Sky cultivator. Everyone retreated in fright, including the remaining 5 Starry Sky Territory Emperors. Yibu wasn't the same as before. Not to mention the others, even the 2 Starry Sky Territory Ancestors didn't dare to provoke Yibu unless they joined hands. However, Longao was by Yibu's side, which was a big problem. Everyone's face was extremely ugly. When they had just stepped into the Heaven Martial Plane, Longao was just a level 3 Starry Sky cultivator. In just a few months, he had become a level 8 Starry Sky cultivator. Moreover, he had snatched 2 Starry Sky Territory Gods' Godheads and created a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor. In other words, Longao could create another Starry Sky Territory Ancestor at any time. At that time, even if Hong Lin and Qi Tian joined hands, they wouldn't be able to suppress Longao. P.S. Today was an accident. After all, there was thunder and rain. Little Nine couldn't do anything. Chapter 1972. Looking at Longao and Yibu's departing figures, everyone hurried to make way for them. Yibu's sudden attack just now had frightened everyone in the surroundings. One was a monstrous genius, and the other was a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor. Once the two of them joined hands, it would be a troublesome matter. No one wasn't afraid of death. Hong Lin and Qi Tian's faces were extremely gloomy and unsightly. "Hong Lin, what should we do now?" The two of them were filled with regret. They regretted it to the extreme. If they hadn't fought, giving Longao a chance to seize the opportunity, the 2 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godheads wouldn't have fallen into Longao's hands. Moreover, they would have created a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor. Not only that, but Longao also had a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead, which could create another Starry Sky Territory Ancestor. Should they make a move? Or not? Hong Lin sighed deeply and said helplessly, "Longao swaggered here, so he must be fearless. If we act rashly and something happens, Hong Lin didn't finish his sentence, but the meaning in his words was clear. In the end, Hong Lin was afraid. He was afraid that Longao had a killer move. If there was an accident, he would die without a doubt. Looking at the two of them swaggering away, Hong Lin and Qi Tian didn't make a move in the end. In the following period of time, Longao and Yibu snatched the keys from other people. No matter what, they had to get the 4 keys first. Being snatched by force, they didn't dare to say anything. After all, the other party's strength was right there. "Yibu, if it's one-on-one, are you their match?" Of course, Longao knew that Yibu wouldn't be able to defeat both of them at once. Longao only hoped that Yibu could defeat one of them one-on-one. It was enough. Yibu shook his head and said helplessly, "Longao, although my cultivation base has broken through to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm in just 3 days with your help, my realm hasn't stabilized yet." Longao had already guessed something. If I had another year, I would be confident that I would be able to contend against either Hong Lin or Qi Tian. However, if we were to fight now, I would be defeated within 100 moves. Paper tiger. Even so, Yibu had scared everyone away. If it weren't for Yibu, Hong Lin and Qi Tian would have definitely joined forces to deal with Longao. This was without a doubt. Then let's try our best not to provoke them. Longao also felt that this matter was a little funny. However, since things had already come to this, he and Yibu could only act calm. Otherwise, if they were exposed, it would be very troublesome in the future. At the very least, it would be very troublesome for the next year. At first glance, the Territory Ancestor Peak seemed to reach into the sky. Wasn't the Territory Ancestor Peak dangerous? Many people asked curiously. After all, the Universal Domain Ancestor's Godhead and the key to open the Starry Sky secret territory wouldn't be the only things here. In fact, everyone had overlooked a problem. Even if the Territory Ancestor Peak wasn't dangerous, to snatch the Universal Domain Ancestor's Godhead and the key to open the Starry Sky secret territory, people would have to fight each other to the death. This was even more dangerous than the Territory Ancestor Peak. People couldn't see this problem. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. As they found that the Territory Ancestor Peak didn't have any problem, they became unscrupulous. They weren't as cautious as when they had just entered the Territory Ancestor Peak. The third Universal Domain Ancestor's Godhead hadn't appeared yet. As for the keys, there were more than 10 keys. This time, Longao and Yibu didn't take action. They had gotten their keys. If they continued to take action, they would force the others to take desperate measures. Yibu, be careful. I feel something wrong. He nodded. Yibu trusted Longao's senses. This young man had too many secrets. It was hard to imagine that when Longao's cultivation base broke through to the Universal Domain Ancestor realm, no one could be his match anymore. Not to mention the Universal Domain Ancestor realm. If Longao's cultivation base broke through to the Universal Domain Ancestor realm, even the Universal Domain Ancestor realm wouldn't be Longao's match. Right at this moment, it was unknown who shouted, but everyone turned to look above their heads. If they didn't look, they wouldn't know. All of a sudden, many small black dots appeared in the sky above the Territory Ancestor Peak. They were moving fast from afar. Meteorites in the starry sky. Meteorites in the starry sky. Everybody, run. Meteorite was a very special thing in the vast starry sky. However, the meteorites that were falling from the sky today were deadly. Because each meteorite was incomparably huge. Perhaps no one would be able to withstand it once it smashed into the ground. Let alone the ordinary warriors in the starry sky, even the 2 Universal Domain Ancestors and 5 Universal Domain Emperors didn't dare to confront them directly. People couldn't figure out why so many meteorites would fall from the sky all of a sudden. It was a deadly situation. The meteorites were so dense. If they weren't careful, they would be hit. Not only would their bodies fall, but their primordial spirit would also vanish. It was the power of the meteorites. Everyone had already guessed that the divine mathematician was the one who had caused the meteorites to fall from the sky. Otherwise, it would be impossible for such a terrifying meteorite to fall from the sky for no reason at all. Everybody started to dodge crazily. Some chose to leave and wait until the meteorites stopped attacking. No one wasn't afraid of death in front of life and death. Yibu, let's go. Longao didn't try to enter the dragon mark. If he did, the meteorites would seize the chance and attack him. The 2 of them used their auras to cover their bodies and dodge left and right. However, the density of the meteorite attacks was too dense. If this situation continued, perhaps no one would be able to withstand it. Without any other choice, everyone began to crazily rush towards the exit. Those who ran fast would safely leave, but those who ran slow would either be stopped or directly smashed to death by the meteorite attacks. After 2 hours, all the people who could come out had already come out. At a glance, there was a dense crowd of people everywhere. There were at least 50,000 starry sky cultivators. In other words, in just an hour, more than 20,000 starry sky cultivators had fallen. What kind of concept was this? It was terrifying. Although 20,000 warriors in the starry sky weren't a big deal in the vast starry sky, it was terrifying if they kept dying at this speed. Since 20,000 warriors had died at one time, if it happened 2 more times, the remaining 50,000 warriors would have to give up their lives here. No one knew how long the meteorite attack on the Territory Ancestor Peak would last. If it continued like this, it wasn't a solution. P.S. Copy the first chapter. Chapter 1973. The meteorites are too dense. If we go there now, we will die for sure. Longao nodded in agreement. But what was the result? EBU, I want to go there. Ah! Hearing that Longao wanted to go to the Territory Ancestor Peak, EBU changed his face. No matter what, the Territory Ancestor Peak was too dangerous. If he went there now, he knew what would happen to him. EBU couldn't figure out why Longao wanted to go to the Territory Ancestor Peak. Moreover, it was at this moment. Without waiting for Yi Buwen, Longao took a big stride forward and his figure had already dashed out. In the blink of an eye, he had already disappeared at the entrance. F*CK. Seeing Longao enter the Territory Ancestor Peak, everybody gawked. Did Longao want to commit suicide? Everybody knew the current situation of the Territory Ancestor Peak. Let alone Longao, even the 3 Territory Ancestors of the Starry Sky didn't dare to enter the Territory Ancestor Peak. Longao is strange. Hong Lin nodded. He also knew that Longao was strange. Longao wasn't an idiot. He wouldn't enter the Territory Ancestor Peak at this moment. Why? They seemed to have thought of something. Their faces changed. They didn't mind the others and directly headed to the Territory Ancestor Peak, disappearing into the entrance. As soon as they disappeared, EBU followed them. Longao and the 3 Territory Ancestors of the Starry Sky had gotten in. They were bewildered. Shortly after, they guessed something. There was only one reason why Longao and the 3 Territory Ancestors chose to enter the peak at this moment. When the meteorites attacked, the Territory Ancestor God's Godhead would appear. Danger and opportunity coexisted. They knew that, but who would dare to enter the peak? Not to mention the others, even the 5 Territory Ancestors didn't dare to enter the peak. Although the Territory Ancestor God's Godhead was important, it wasn't enough to save their lives. Everyone sighed deeply. No one envied them anymore. Although Longao had taken the Territory Ancestor God's Godhead twice, Longao had taken risks each time. When the 2 Territory Ancestors were fighting, no one dared to snatch the Godhead. No one except for Longao. It wasn't that Longao wasn't afraid of death. However, Longao got the Territory Ancestor God's Godhead and they didn't. Many people began to admire Longao's Godhead. A Starry Sky cultivator who had risen from an intermediate plane was looked down upon by everyone at first, but in just a few months, he had grown to this point. Was it just because of his talent and various killing moves? Other than talent, Longao was even more crazy and fearless of danger. Everybody had guessed that although the Territory Ancestor Peak had so many meteorites, which made it very dangerous, the 4 of them didn't hesitate to get in. More than 50,000 cultivators in the Starry Sky didn't choose to enter the peak because they were afraid of death. In comparison, Longao's achievement was reasonable. Inside the Territory Ancestor Peak, countless Starry Sky meteors fell unceasingly. Not to mention entering the peak, just looking at them was terrifying. As soon as the 3 Territory Ancestors entered the peak, they saw the sky full of meteors. They were full of confidence, but they halted their steps. They didn't see such a scene outside, so they had the impulse to enter. But now, they didn't dare to take a step inside. This kind of attack was too dangerous. Where was Longao? Seeing that Longao had already disappeared, the 3 people's faces all changed. The sky was full of meteors, and they couldn't see Longao. They didn't know if he was dead or alive. Sighing deeply, Hong Lin said with admiration, "Not only is this man talented, but he's also fearless. Not many people in this vast universe can have that kind of courage." Qi Tian nodded in agreement. This man isn't simple. He must be killed. Longao's talent and potential had already deeply shocked the 2 of them. If you cut the grass without removing the roots, it will grow again when the spring breeze blows. Thinking of this, the 2 of them had already decided that no matter what happened, Longao had to die. He snorted coldly. "Yi Bu said coldly, just the 2 of you?" Yi Bu, Don't think that you can resist us just because you've reached the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm. As long as we join hands, do you think you can resist us? Hong Lin and Qi Tian were confident that even if Yi Bu had refined the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor's godhead and reached the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm, he wasn't their equal opponent. However, they didn't take action under such circumstances. If they weren't sure that they could succeed in one strike, they wouldn't act rashly. The reason was simple. If they couldn't succeed in one strike, they would provoke Yi Bu. With Yi Bu's competence, if he messed with them, they would be in big trouble. Hong Lin, what should we do now? Enter. Or leave. Or stay where they were. Longao had entered. If another Starry Sky Territory Ancestor's godhead appeared, he could snatch it again. In that case, Longao would have obtained 3 Starry Sky Territory Ancestors' godheads. It would be a lie to say that they weren't jealous. Hong Lin shook his head helplessly. After thinking for a while, he decided to stay where he was. Wait until Longao appears. We'll use all of our strength. No matter what happens, we must keep him here. We can't let him leave alive. They chose to ignore Yi Bu. Even if Yi Bu had broken through to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm, he wouldn't be able to stop them. If Yi Bu's cultivation base had stabilized in 3 to 5 years, he might be able to affect them. However, it wasn't now. Looking at their faces, Yi Bu knew what they were thinking. He sneered inwardly. When Longao came out, even if he wasn't as strong as them, he wouldn't retreat. At this moment, Yi Bu considered Longao his friend because no one had ever treated him like that. Although they had signed the bloodline contract, he understood the value of a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor's godhead. Ordinary people wouldn't take it out casually. Thus, the 3 Starry Sky Territory Ancestors stood several meters away from each other, waiting for Longao to come out. In fact, the 3 of them knew that Longao would be smashed to death by the meteorite inside the Territory Ancestor Peak. This was what the 2 Territory Ancestors wanted to see the most. However, they would have to use their secret techniques in vain. Yi Bu hoped that Longao would come out alive. P.S. Copy the 2nd chapter. Chapter 1974. Inside the Territory Ancestor Peak. As soon as Longao entered the peak, he was hit by so many meteorites. The biggest reason why he had entered the Territory Ancestor Peak was because he had guessed that there would be opportunities and dangers. Since the meteorites were so powerful, what if the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor's godhead appeared? Just as expected. At first glance, Longao saw the sparkling Starry Sky Territory Ancestor's godhead in the cracks of the meteorites. He was thrilled. It seemed like his guess was right. Longao didn't hesitate, dashing forward like an arrow. Longao was just a level 8 Starry Sky cultivator, so he couldn't resist the meteorites. However, Longao was confident. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to enter the Territory Ancestor Peak. The dragon seal protected him, blocking the meteorites around him. Grabbing the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor's godhead, Longao was thrilled. With 1 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor's godhead, it meant that he could create another Starry Sky Territory Ancestor. Retreat. As he had successfully obtained 1 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor's godhead, Longao didn't linger. Even if there were other Starry Sky Territory Ancestors' godheads, he wouldn't snatch them. Longao wasn't too greedy, so he knew when to stop. Longao, hand over the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors' godhead. Seeing Longao come out safely, both Hong Lin and Qi Tian felt it was inconceivable. They didn't know how Longao had withstood so many meteorites. Not to mention a level 8 Starry Sky cultivator, even a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor wouldn't dare to confront him directly. Longao didn't slow down. Longao used his finger as a sword, and the reincarnation sword Qi slashed across the sky like a rainbow, aiming at the 2 Starry Sky Territory Ancestors. They didn't dare to confront him directly. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Longao teleported away with Yi Bu in an instant. When the 2 reacted, they found that Longao and Yi Bu were gone. He was completely dumbfounded. Never in his wildest dreams did he expect Longao's speed to be so fast. Even if it was teleportation, It was still too terrifying. Humiliation, a great humiliation. Kill. The two of them were furious to the extreme. After leaving the territory ancestor peak, they saw Longao and Yibu smiling at them. They became more enraged. Longao, I'm going to tear you to shreds. He sneered. Longao and Yibu turned around and left quickly. 2 people ran, and 2 people chased. Everyone in the vicinity was astounded because they knew that if the 2 Universal Star Territory ancestors acted like this, could it be that Longao had already obtained the Universal Star Territory ancestors' godhead? Thinking of this, everyone was once again envious and jealous. Although the 2 territory ancestors dared to chase after them, the others didn't. Anyway, Longao and Yibu were strong enough. Unless they wanted to court death, they wouldn't. 2 hours later, the 2 of them returned helplessly. Longao and Yibu were too fast for them to catch up. Everyone retreated as they were afraid of the 2. No one knew if the 2 of them would go crazy or not because it had happened before. They had suddenly attacked the people around them. What if they did it again? The 2 of them were infuriated. What enraged them the most was that as soon as they returned, Longao and Yibu followed them. It was a total provocation. Longao, if you're a man, fight us fairly. Ignored. As he had successfully obtained a Universal Star Territory ancestor's godhead, Longao was thinking about who he should give it to. Ouyang Tuor, Lin Yi, Li Mai, Yi Bai, are you willing to swallow the Universal Star Territory ancestor's godhead? As the 4 of them were Universal Star Territory emperors, as long as they could swallow the Universal Star Territory ancestor's godhead, with Long Fu's help, they could break through to the Universal Star Territory ancestor's realm in 3 days. They were bewildered. Was Longao really willing to give them the Universal Star Territory ancestor's godhead? The 4 of them knew that there was no such thing as a free lunch in the sky. Lin Yi asked, "What are your conditions?" "Submit to me and sign a bloodline contract." Impossible. What a joke. The 4 of them finally understood why Longao had given the Universal Star Territory ancestors' godhead to Yibu. It turned out that Yibu had chosen the bloodline contract. Not willing. Longao chuckled. Even if the 4 of them were unwilling, he believed that there would be people willing. The temptation of the Universal Star Territory ancestors' godhead was there, so Longao didn't ask further. Just as Longao was about to continue searching for his target, Yi Bai suddenly walked over from the group of 4 without saying a word. Longao already knew what Yi Bai meant. The temptation of the Universal Star Territory ancestors' godhead was too great. There would definitely be people willing to accept it. Yi Bai, are you really willing? The other 3 were a little surprised, because everyone was very clear about what the bloodline contract meant. Once the bloodline contract was successfully signed, then the life and death of Yi Bai would not be in their own hands. As long as Longao willed it, Yi Bai would fall. Longao, I'm willing to sign the bloodline contract. Longao didn't say much. After Yi Bai completed the bloodline contract, he directly handed the Universal Star Territory ancestors' godhead to him. Yibu, who was standing aside, suddenly said, "Yi Bai, you will feel lucky for your choice today." When Yibu said this, the meaning was completely different. However, Yi Bai didn't care because he had the same feeling as Yibu. He seemed to have sensed something from the territory ancestor peak. He would take the risk and see if he could make the right bet. Yi Bai wasn't a fool. He knew Yibu's character well. If there weren't any benefits, Yibu would be willing to submit to Longao and sign the bloodline contract. There must be something fishy about it. Choosing the bloodline contract now and choosing the bloodline contract in the future were 2 completely different concepts. Yi Bai even had a feeling that if he didn't submit now, even if he was willing in the future, the other party wouldn't want him. Let's go. Longao took the other 2 and left. Shortly after, the 3 of them disappeared without a trace. Hong Lin and Qi Tian, the 2 Universal Star Territory ancestors, were infuriated. Longao had openly recruited people and used the Universal Star Territory ancestors' godhead as bait. The 2 of them couldn't do anything. The 2 of them were like 2 volcanoes that could erupt at any minute. No one dared to come close to them. They looked at them in fright and tried to stay as far away as possible. In the distance, Yi Bai, according to your situation, you should be similar to Yi Bu. You need 1 year to refine the Universal Star Territory Ancestors Godhead. However, we can't wait that long. I'm asking for your opinion. If you agree, I can help you refine the Universal Star Territory Ancestors Godhead and become the Universal Star Territory Ancestor in 3 days. However, it's very dangerous. There's only a 50% chance of success. Longao's meaning was clear. Everything would depend on Yi Bai's opinion. P.S. Copy the 3rd chapter. Chapter 1975. Yi Bai and Yi Bu had made the same choice. Although there was only a 50% chance of success, they were excited to refine the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead and become a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor in just 3 days. 3 days later, when Longao brought the two of them back to the Territory Ancestor Peak, everyone was astounded. Was it real? In just 3 days, Longao had created another Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead. In this case, Longao's power had soared to another height. With the help of 2 Starry Sky Territory Ancestors, not to mention the others, even if Hong Lin and the others joined hands, they wouldn't dare to attack Longao. Was he still the Longao they knew? In just several months, he had grown to this level. It was unbelievable. Hong Lin and Qi Tian couldn't believe it. They didn't know how Longao had done it. This secret technique was too overbearing. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. The two of them knew that Longao's situation was different now. Even if Yi Bu and Yi Bai had just broken through to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm, they would still be hurt badly. Everyone was watching the situation inside the Territory Ancestor Peak. The meteorite remained for 3 days and 3 nights before it gradually disappeared. No one hesitated, and they all rushed into the Territory Ancestor Peak. Luck. Although Longao had already obtained 3 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godheads, there were still 7 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godheads left. If he was lucky, he might be able to obtain one of them. Snatching the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead didn't depend on one's strength. Luck was the most important factor. The rest of the people rushed into the Territory Ancestor Peak. This time, there were more than 100,000 Starry Sky cultivators who had entered the Heaven Martial world. However, in just 2 months, they had lost more than 50,000 of them. It was a terrifying number. If it didn't concern them, they wouldn't care. No matter how many Starry Sky cultivators died, as long as they were fine, no one would care. There wasn't a single meteorite on the ground. All of them had disappeared. Was it an illusion? What a terrifying phantom attack. In total, more than 20,000 Starry Sky cultivators had died. Fortunately, everyone had run away quickly, otherwise, the remaining 50,000 Starry Sky cultivators would have died in this place. While they were fighting for the keys, they were gazing at the screen to see when the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godhead would appear again. Out of the original 10 Universe Domain Ancestor Godheads, only 7 were left. At a certain place. As they had gotten the key to the Star Secret Domain, the 2 Territory Ancestors didn't try to snatch it. Although they were the Territory Ancestors of the Starry Sky, they couldn't offend the god and the people. If everyone was angry and dissatisfied, things would be difficult to handle. Hong Lin, if I'm not wrong, the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor can't do that. Qi Tian believed that he was unable to do so. The meteorite attack seemed to be something that only those in that realm could accomplish. Was the oracle that kind of existence? Qi Tian didn't want to believe it, nor did he dare to believe it. No matter what, this was a small mid-grade plane. How could such a legendary existence appear here? Not to mention Qi Tian, even Hong Lin didn't believe it. However, the result was right in front of them. Even if they didn't want to believe it, the facts told them that it wasn't a lie. If that was the case, then the oracle's strength was really terrifying. Hong Lin nodded helplessly and said, Qi Tian, I know what you mean. Even if you and I don't want to believe it, I'm afraid the oracle is really the Starry Sky World's master. Although he had guessed it, Qi Tian's face still changed when he heard Hong Lin's words. He knew what the Starry Sky World's master meant. Both of them knew that if the oracle was really the Starry Sky World's master, then it was too terrifying. It was hard to imagine that the two of them had tried to kill the oracle. Just thinking about it made them shudder. If their guesses were true, then given the strength of the god diviner, it would be a piece of cake for him to kill them. Starry Sky World's master. Seems like the Starry Sky World's master of our region is the so-called oracle. In the vast starry sky, every Starry Sky World's master was an extremely mysterious existence. They wouldn't reveal themselves easily. This was why no one knew who he was. Otherwise, as the Starry Sky World's master, Oracle would definitely be a super existence whose name could shake the entire starry sky. Sigh. Both of them sighed deeply. They felt helpless. From the beginning to the end, both of them had never thought that a Starry Sky World's master would appear in the Heaven Martial Plane. If they had known earlier, they wouldn't have entered the Heaven Martial Plane even if they were beaten to death. Trying to provoke a Starry Sky World's master was simply a foolish action. Both of them finally knew why the oracle was so confident that he could casually open the passageway and even let them enter. It seemed like the oracle wasn't afraid of anyone. Not to mention them, even if the Starry Sky World's masters of other regions came, the oracle wouldn't even put them in his eyes. Hong Lin, what should we do now? It's a little troublesome. Hundreds of thousands of Starry Sky cultivators have died in less than 2 months. It's hard to imagine how many of them are still alive, including you and me. We're all pawns of the oracle. Sigh. They sighed again. The Starry Sky World's master was a real expert of the starry sky. The two of them were extremely depressed. If they had known that the oracle was the Starry Sky World's master, no matter how tempting the secret territory was, they wouldn't have come here. Now, they regretted it so much that they wanted to die. I hope the oracle is just playing. He won't do it for real. Do you really think that the oracle won't do it? As the two of them were territory ancestors of the starry sky, they could vaguely feel that if the oracle wanted to kill them, no matter who it was, no one could stop him. The more they thought about it, the more annoyed they felt. The two of them looked at the boundless territory ancestor peak. If nothing unexpected happened, they would be buried in 1 year. Let alone going to the star secret territory, they didn't even know if they could leave the Heaven Martial Plane alive. What should they do after all? The two of them looked solemn and worried. They didn't know what to do. However, they were just guessing. They hoped that they were wrong. If the oracle wasn't the Starry Sky World's master but the territory ancestor of the starry sky, they would have a chance. If the oracle was the Starry Sky World's master, they wouldn't have a chance. Two pawns at the mercy of others. Whether they lived or died, they didn't even have the power to decide. P.S. Copy the 4th chapter. Chapter 1976. Both of them were worried. However, they didn't have any solution. As it had come to this, they could only take one step at a time. After the meteorite attack disappeared, the entire territory ancestor peak quieted down. Longao, Yi Bu, and Yi Bai formed a small team. When the three of them joined hands, no one dared to provoke them. Master, since Yi Bu and I have reached the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Realm, why don't we join hands and find a way to kill Feng Buxiu? Yi Bai had chosen to submit to Longao, which meant that he had chosen to submit to the Dragon Sect. Thus, he called Longao Master. As for Yi Bu, he needed time to accept it. From the beginning to the end, Longao didn't force them. Feng Buxiu had to die. Longao would never forget this grudge. There were 3 people who had besieged Uncle Murong. 2 of them had died, leaving Feng Buxiu alone. He nodded in agreement. Previously, he was still afraid of the other 2. It wasn't easy to kill Feng Buxiu. But now, the situation was completely different. Yi Bu and Yi Bai had reached the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Realm. Although they weren't Qi Tian and Hong Lin's opponents, it was more than enough to stall them. However, Longao didn't plan to do that. Because with his strength, wanting to kill Feng Buxiu in a short period of time was not an easy thing to do. After thinking about it, Longao decided to keep the two of them busy. As for killing Feng Buxiu, he would leave it to Yi Bu and Yi Bai. Longao had full confidence in the strength of the two of them. Even if the two of them were to join forces, any one of them would be able to deal with Feng Buxiu. If they joined hands, as long as nothing unexpected happened, they could kill Feng Buxiu. They did as they were told. Longao and the other two didn't take action immediately. They had to think of a countermeasure. The first one to take action was Longao. He attacked the other two for no reason. The other two were bewildered as they didn't know what was wrong with Longao. Although Yi Bu and Yi Bai had reached the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Realm, they weren't strong enough to confront the other two. They didn't consider Longao a threat. Attack. The two of them were very clear about the grudge between Longao and Feng Buxiu. They were eager to show off, so the two of them attacked with all their might, flanking Feng Buxiu from both sides. Yi Bu, Yi Bai, we have always been good friends. Are you going to be so heartless? Heartless? The two of them sneered in their hearts. Not wanting to waste any more words, the two of them charged forward. Although the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor had touched the power of the star boundary, he could still subdue the Starry Sky Territory Emperor. Feng Buxiu was at a disadvantage in front of the two of them. Fighting one against two, as long as there were no accidents, Feng Wuchang would definitely die. When they saw Yi Bu and Yi Bai attack Feng Buxiu, both Honglin and Qi Tian instantly understood why Longao would attack the two of them. If it was before, the two of them would have stopped him. As the saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. However, they had guessed that divine mathematician wasn't the territory ancestor of the Starry Sky. He was the so-called territory master of the Starry Sky. At this time, the two of them were not in the mood to fight Longao at all. Stop attacking. Longao, we know what you mean. Please do as you wish. Without any hesitation, the two of them chose to compromise. Seeing the two of them compromise, Longao was a little surprised. However, if they didn't attack him, it was still a good thing for him. Turning around, Longao used the teleportation skill and disappeared from his spot. Feng Buxiu, today, we have to settle the grudges between us. Are you ready? I'm ready, your ass. Feng Buxiu was enraged to the extreme. The more Longao acted like this, the more humiliated he felt. He had watched Longao grow step by step. At first, he had the power to kill Longao. However, it was impossible now. Was he going to die here? Previously, he had the help of the two territory ancestors. Thus, he wasn't afraid of Longao. However, the situation was different now. Feng Buxiu could imagine that the two of them were afraid of Longao. Thus, they didn't want to help him. Burning the bridge after crossing the river. Longao, I can let bygones be bygones. What do you think? You can let bygones be bygones? Hearing those words, not only Longao, even Yi Bu and Yi Bai felt that it was a bit funny. The reason for that was because the three of them were truly unable to understand exactly what gave Chu Feng such confidence to actually act so arrogantly. Waving his hand, Longao didn't want to create more problems. The sooner he killed Feng Buxiu, the sooner he could take revenge for Uncle Murong. Right at this moment, the 10,000 Beasts' forefather, Xing Kuan, Long Di Tian, and Long Tian all entered the Territory Ancestor Peak. The four of them had reached the Starry Sky Territory Lord Realm. When they saw Longao's team attacking Feng Buxiu, they didn't know that Yi Bu and Yi Bai had reached the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Realm. Otherwise, no one knew what they would think. Even so, the four of them were still astounded. They didn't know why Yi Bu and Yi Bai wanted to help Longao. Weren't they enemies at the beginning? When the four of them saw Longao also saw them. Tian Dao wasn't here, so he could seize the chance to deal with the four of them. Then, he could settle his grudge once and for all. His enemies were all here. Although Tian Dao and Long Batian didn't say anything, Longao and the others knew where the two of them had gone. If nothing unexpected happened, the two of them had entered the secret domain. As for why the divine mathematician wanted to do that, besides him, no one knew. Longao didn't care if he could enter the secret domain or not. As long as Tian Dao wasn't here, it was a good thing for him. However, at this moment, Longao didn't want to settle the score with the four of them. The most important thing now was to deal with Feng Buxiu and take revenge for Uncle Murong. Take action. Not wanting to waste any more time, the three of them attacked at the same time. The result was obvious. After a few moves, Feng Buxiu fell. However, for revenge, Longao not only killed Feng Buxiu, but also destroyed his Yuan spirit. Feng Buxiu's Yuan spirit didn't even have the chance to enter the cycle of reincarnation. After dealing with Feng Buxiu, Longao finally felt better. If it weren't for him, Uncle Murong wouldn't have fallen. He blamed himself. Most importantly, when the seal of the massacre abyss was opened, he didn't know how to explain it to Murong Yanga. He sighed deeply. Even if he took revenge, Uncle Murong wouldn't be able to come back from the dead. Xing Kuan, myriad beasts' ancestor, Long Tian, Long Detian, long time no see. How have you been? With Yi Bu and Yi Bai, the three of them instantly arrived before the four of them. This time, Longao had decided that no matter what happened, he would take care of the four of them. P.S. Copy of Chapter 5. Chapter 1977. The four people's faces were very gloomy, as ugly as they could be. The four of them were well aware of Feng Buxiu's strength. A starry sky domain emperor could kill the four of them with his strength alone. But what was the result? Feng Buxiu was still killed. Other than Longao's strength, the two starry sky domain emperors helping Longao was like adding wings to a tiger. Not only that, the four of them were shocked to find that Yi Bu and Yi Bai weren't starry sky domain emperors, but starry sky domain ancestors. Was this for real? Unbelievable. Inconceivable. The only explanation was that Yi Bu and Yi Bai had devoured the starry sky domain ancestors' godheads and had successfully refined them in a short period of time, breaking through to the starry sky domain ancestors' realm. Longao, there are external enemies here. Let's put aside the grudges between us for now, how about it? In this situation, the four of them were afraid. Going against Longao was a dead end. There was no one who wasn't afraid of death. Although the myriad beasts' ancestor, Long Di-Tien, and Long Tien did not say anything, their intentions were clear. Would Longao agree? Longao sneered coldly as he looked at the four people in front of him. He sighed inwardly because the four people standing in front of him were the peak experts of the Sky Martial continent. He could only look up at them from afar. Wanting to deal with the four of them was simply a fool's dream. But now, in just a few short years, not only was he able to stand on equal footing with the four of them, he even had the strength to kill them. The changes in the world were unpredictable. Perhaps even the four of them would not have thought that things would turn out like this. Cut the weeds and eliminate the roots, eliminating all future troubles. Longao wouldn't leave any trouble for himself, especially now that the four of them had broken through to the starry sky domain lord realm. No one knew what realm they would reach in the future. The safest way was to deal with them first. Kill yourselves. Longao's meaning was very clear. The four of them were not fools. Of course, they knew that the other party was not willing to let the four of them go. However, if they were to lose in this matter, they would definitely make the same choice as Longao. Cutting weeds without removing the roots, they would grow again when the spring breeze blew. It was a simple principle. The four's expression became gloomier. Could it be a war? There was almost no need for the battle to begin. The four of them already knew the outcome. Let alone Longao, Yi Bu and Yi Bai, who were at the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm, were enough to kill the four of them. Feng Buxiu was the best example. The other two territory ancestors of the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor, Qitian Territory Ancestor and Honglin Territory Ancestor, were watching quietly. They didn't want to take action. In fact, the four of them understood the two territory ancestors' intentions. After all, the two territory ancestors were afraid of Longao. Thus, they didn't dare to interfere in this matter. Was this still the Longao of the past? In the past, although Longao was difficult to deal with, they still had the confidence to kill him. But now, Longao had grown to such an extent. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, it would have been hard to believe. Not to mention the others, even the 2 territory ancestors didn't dare to take action. He sighed deeply in his heart. The 4 of them were very clear in their hearts that this time, the 4 of them were most likely doomed. However, they were a little unwilling to be killed by Longao just like that. He seemed to have thought of something. All of a sudden, Long Di-Tien sneered and said, "Longao, if you dare to take action against us, Long Jing's life will be in danger." Long Jing. Hearing Long Di-Tien, Longao's body suddenly emitted a terrifying murderous aura. It was because the Long family had disappeared 2 years ago. According to Yu Yin, Long Jing had secretly left the Dragon Valley to find him. What a silly girl. Longao had thought that since he hadn't heard from Long Jing for 2 years, she was probably dead. However, he had never thought that Long Jing would fall into Long Di-Tien's hands. This time, they were in big trouble. Long Di-Tien, what do you mean? The 4 of them changed their attitude instantly. Looking at Longao's face, the 4 of them knew that Long Jing was important to Longao. If so, they didn't have to worry about their lives. Longao, don't worry. Long Jing is safe now. However, if you take action, I can guarantee that Long Jing won't even have a corpse left. A threat. It was a blatant threat. The 4 of them swaggered off to the side. The 4 of them were all Starry Sky territory lords. If they were to join forces, they would be a force to be reckoned with. Unless it was the Starry Sky Territory Emperor or Starry Sky Territory Ancestor, the 4 of them would be able to wipe out all the cultivators here. The 4 of them had just left when Long Di-Tien suddenly turned around. Looking at Longao, he chuckled, "Longao, pray to the gods that nothing will happen to me. Otherwise, if the 4 of us take action, it would mean that something will happen to your Long Jing." Ha 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 ha, the 4 of them laughed maniacally. Yi Bu and Yi Bai did not say anything. Even though they did not know who Long Jing was, they could not help but sigh in their hearts when they saw the expression on the master's face. This was going to be big trouble. The 4 of them were truly despicable. Yi Bu thought about it and asked, "Master, what should we do now?" "The 2 of you follow them. Don't let anything happen to them. I'm going out for a while." "No problem." Of course, the 2 of them knew what the master wanted to do. However, if Long Di-Tien wanted to hide Long Jing, it would be a little troublesome. Longao did not hesitate at all. His feelings for Long Jing were complicated. Even though he did not have any feelings for her, he had always treated her like a sister. Especially this silly girl. Her feelings for him, sigh. It was precisely because of this that Longao had already decided that no matter what happened, he had to save Long Jing. He did not care about the life and death of the 4 people at all. Only Long Jing's safety could not be harmed. Otherwise, he would really feel guilty and uneasy for the rest of his life. As for whether Long Di-Tien was telling the truth, Longao knew very well that it should be true. Longao left the territory ancestor peak and headed straight for the Long family. Previously, he was afraid of the divine mathematician, so he did not attack the dragon tribe and the Long family. However, if Long Di-Tien dared to hurt Long Jing, not to mention the divine mathematician, even the heavenly king would not be able to do anything. No matter if it was the Long family or the Dragon Valley, they would all be destroyed. Longao's speed was very fast. As a Starry Sky cultivator with grade 8 cultivation, not to mention spatial teleportation, his speed alone had reached a terrifying level. In just a few steps, he had already arrived outside the Long clan. Longao did not search for them one by one. Instead, he released his Starry Sky aura and covered the entire Long family instantly. "Not here." Longao was very clear about his Starry Sky aura. It seemed like Long Di-Tien did not place Long Jing in the Long family. In that case, other than the Long family, there was only one other place. It was the Dragon Valley, where the Dragon tribe resided. P.S. Copy of the first chapter. Chapter 1978. Dragon Valley. Except for the Dragon tribe, the Chilean tribe and the Phoenix tribe of the three great clans of the divine beasts were annihilated. Longao released his terrifying aura to scan around, but he couldn't find Long Jing. Anger. Self-blame. Endless anger and self-blame. At this moment, Longao was like a volcano that was about to erupt. If he hadn't tried to control himself, he would have been enraged. However, Longao was on the verge of exploding. Where was Long Jing? Nothing should happen to Long Jing. Longao. Hearing Black Demon's voice, Longao thought for a while and decided to go there. What if Black Demon knew Long Jing's whereabouts? Dark space. Although Black Demon had reached the Starry Sky Territory Emperor level, he was still sealed here by the Divine Mathematician. Until now, Black Demon didn't know what had happened outside. What's up? At this moment, Longao wasn't afraid of Black Demon. Although he was just a level 8 Starry Sky cultivator and the opponent was the real Starry Sky Territory Master, he wasn't afraid of him at all. Longao, what happened out there? Although he didn't know anything, Black Demon could sense something. Longao didn't conceal anything. He told him everything he knew, including how the Divine Mathematician had defeated 2 territory ancestors of the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm alone. After listening to him, Black Demon was stunned. He had always thought that even if the Divine Mathematician was a territory ancestor, he couldn't be too strong. However, it seemed that the Divine Mathematician's competence was beyond his imagination. Black Demon, I'm afraid the Divine Mathematician isn't that simple. What do you mean? Intuition told Black Demon that what Longao was about to say would be earth-shaking. Otherwise, Longao wouldn't have done that. I guess the Divine Mathematician isn't just a territory ancestor. Ah! What did Longao mean? The Divine Mathematician wasn't a territory ancestor? Heimo seemed to have thought of something, but he couldn't believe it. He shook his head and said firmly, that's impossible. The Divine Mathematician can't be the ruler of the Starry Sky Sector. Let alone Black Demon, even the others, including Longao, Qi Tian, and Hong Lin, didn't believe it. However, Longao was sure that Divine Mathematician wasn't the territory ancestor of the Starry Sky. He was the territory master of the Starry Sky. The Starry Sky Realm Master was an invincible existence in the vast Starry Sky. Seeing the expression on Longao's face, Black Demon gradually believed him. He knew very well that there was no need for Longao to trick him, especially when it came to something like this. The God Diviner was actually the master of the Starry Sky Sector. Everyone had been too naive. They had thought that the martial heaven continent was at the mercy of others. They hadn't thought that they were all chess pieces of the God Diviner, including themselves. Back then, Blackfiend had only been a domain lord. He hadn't even had a chance to fight back against Master God Diviner. He could not figure it out. He simply couldn't figure it out. What Black Demon couldn't figure out was why the Divine Mathematician hadn't killed him back then. Even if the Divine Mathematician wasn't the ruler of the Starry Sky and was just a territory ancestor of the Starry Sky, killing him would be as easy as flipping his hand. Why had he just sealed him here? Even when he had attacked, the Divine Mathematician hadn't killed him. Was there something fishy? Black Demon felt a little desperate. If the Divine Mathematician was really the ruler of the Starry Sky, then he was meat on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. Sighing helplessly, Black Demon suddenly asked, Longao, why did you come to the Dragon Valley so suddenly? Black Demon knew that Longao was afraid of the Divine Mathematician. He wouldn't destroy the Dragon Valley and the Long family. If that was the case, why had he come here? Black Demon could feel the murderous aura from Longao, which was why he was so curious. I'm looking for someone. Longao didn't hide anything either. He told Black Demon about Long Jing and said, Senior Black Demon, please help me search and see if Long Jing is here. No, Longao. According to what you said, Long Di Tian shouldn't have put Long Jing in the Long family or the Dragon Valley. Remember, the most dangerous place isn't necessarily the safest place. Longao had always thought that the most dangerous place was the safest place. For the sake of taking the risk, Long Di Tian might really put Long Jing here. It seemed like he was wrong. Could it be? Longao didn't stay any longer. He turned and left. Only Black Demon was left in the dark space. He sighed deeply and muttered to himself, the ruler of the starry sky realm. I really didn't expect the divine mathematician to be the ruler of the starry sky realm. The tragedy of that year will repeat itself. No matter who it is, as long as they step into the heaven martial realm, they won't be able to leave alive. Sigh. Longao left the Dragon Valley and didn't stay for a moment. He didn't dare to imagine whether Long Jing was alive or dead. What if Long Jing had already fallen and Long Di Tian was just lying to him in order to protect his life? If that was the case, everyone would die. Heaven Dao Peak. The current Heaven Dao Alliance was no longer the same as before. The two Alliance Masters had both entered the Starry Sky secret realm, but even so, no one came to cause trouble. The reason was simple, everyone's eyes were on the domain Ancestor Peak. Who would be so free as to come here? A figure appeared. It was Longao. Longao had already guessed that other than the Long family and the Dragon Valley, Long Di Tian was most likely hiding Long Jing in the Heaven Dao Alliance. If there was no sign of Long Jing here, then there was only one explanation. Long Jing was most likely dead. Please don't let anything happen to Long Jing. Please don't let anything happen to her. Longao tried to release his own aura. In just a few seconds, he had already found Long Jing's whereabouts by relying on his own aura. He was immediately overjoyed because he could clearly sense that Long Jing was fine. He finally heaved a sigh of relief. As long as Long Jing was fine, everything would be easy. Longao couldn't wait any longer. He took a step forward and arrived at the back mountain of the Heaven Dao Alliance. If it was any other time, Longao would definitely notice that something was wrong with the surroundings. But now, he didn't know if it was because of Long Jing, but as soon as he stepped into the back mountain, he saw Long Jing who was sealed in the courtyard. Brother Long seeing Longao, Long Jing was pleasantly surprised. Long Jing had never thought that she would meet the person she loved at this time. Long Jing's love was different from others. Regardless of whether Longao was willing or not, she loved Longao wholeheartedly. Otherwise, Long Jing wouldn't have fallen to this place. Silly girl. It was impossible for him not to be touched. Longao blamed himself. He wanted to slap himself a few times. He had failed to take good care of such a good girl time and time again. What if something happened to Long Jing? What should he do? How was he going to answer to Long Jing's family? P.S. Copy of the second chapter. Chapter 1979. Just as Longao was about to step into the courtyard, suddenly, two beasts appeared around him, glaring at Longao. What were these beasts? He had never seen them before. However, Longao could clearly sense that the two divine beasts on his left and right were both at the Starry Sky Domain Lord level. Their expressions were grim. Seemed like the heavens' will was prepared to kill with a borrowed knife. Longao could almost be sure that this had something to do with the Dragon Emperor Sky and Long Tian. In fact, it might even have something to do with the heavens' will. Lin Fan took in a deep breath. Preemptive strike. Under Longao's teleportation, he wielded the reincarnation sword and slashed out with the reincarnation sword chi. Slicing through the skies, the reincarnation sword chi slashed out continuously. Phew, phew, phew. The two beasts were strong enough to ignore Longao's attacks completely. End this quickly. Longao summoned thousands of Starry Sky soul slaves from the Dragon Seal space and surrounded the two Starry Sky divine beasts. Continuous attacks. The defense of the soul slaves was perverse. Even if it were two region lords, they would not be able to destroy the soul slaves in a short period of time. With a single step, Longao disappeared from where he was. Courtyard. Looking at the person she loved so close to her, Long Jing's body began to tremble. Back when she left the Dragon sect to search for Longao, she had not expected to meet someone from the Long family. After being sealed for 2 whole years, Long Jing did not complain at all. Big brother Long, is it really you? Nodding his head. Towards this silly girl, Longao did not want to think about anything else. Stretching out his arms, he hugged Long Jing tightly. Big brother Long, you've accepted me? Long Jing was no fool. She knew clearly that Big Brother Long's actions at this moment meant that he had accepted her. Was this for real? Long Jing could not believe that this was the moment she had been waiting for. From now on, you're Longao's woman. A simple sentence that did not need to be said. Let's go. I'll take you away. Longao quickly left with Long Jing. As for the two domain Lord Realm divine beasts, there was no need for him to act. Even if the Starry Sky soul slaves could not kill the two Starry Sky divine beasts, it was no longer important. Longao didn't care about the life and death of the two space god beasts. It was fine as long as Long Jing was fine. Longao and Long Jing had just left the Heavenly Dao Union when over 1,000 Starry Sky soul slaves disappeared. The two Starry Sky divine beasts were completely dumbfounded. They didn't know what was going on. The other party was just a small grade 8 Starry Sky cultivator, yet he could leave safely. How could he explain this to Sir? Longao took Long Jing and didn't return to the Territory Ancestor Peak. The Starry Sky Territory Ancestor's godhead wasn't important. Long Jing was more important. At the peak of a secluded mountain, the two of them sat on the ground and watched the sun slowly rise in the distance. Long Jing happily leaned on Longao's shoulder, and the two of them sat quietly like this for the entire night. Big Brother Long, am I really going to devour the Starry Sky Godhead? At this moment, Long Jing was just a divine realm warrior. Not to mention Starry Sky cultivators, even Nirvana realm warriors still had a long way to go. How could his woman be so weak? Longao couldn't guarantee that he would be by Long Jing's side all the time. Although he was strong, he wasn't as strong as Long Jing. Thus, even if he wasn't by her side, Long Jing could still protect herself. Jing I've prepared 9 Starry Sky God Sparks for you. Take them one by one. I will help you refine them. The 9 Starry Sky God Sparks were Grade 1, Grade 2, Grade 3, Grade 4, Grade 5, Grade 6, Grade 7, Grade 8, and Grade 9 Starry Sky God Sparks. Swallowing the Starry Sky God Sparks one by one was much faster than swallowing the Grade 9 Starry Sky God Sparks directly. Today, with Long Fu's help, this speed could be shortened by several times. Long Jing was very obedient. She nodded and said with a smile, Brother Long, don't worry. I will swallow the Starry Sky God Sparks one by one. I will try to break through to the Starry Sky realm in the shortest time. Long Jing was very clear about her situation. If it were several years ago, with her strength, even if she couldn't conquer the entire continent, she could do whatever she wanted. But now, divine realm warriors were like children to her. The stronger she was, the more Brother Long would be at ease. After Long Jing swallowed the 9 Starry Sky God Sparks, Longao brought her to the Territory Ancestor Peak. He had made up his mind. No matter what happened, he would take as many Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godheads as he could get. In total, Huang Xiaolong had obtained 3 Starry Sky Domain Ancestor Godheads. 1 for Shi Potian, 1 for Yi Bu, and 1 for Yi Bai. He had to snatch a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead for Jing. No matter what the others did, he had to make Jing a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead first. Then, he would be more at ease. Territory Ancestor Peak. Old Ancestor, although we have Long Jing under our control and Lord Heavenly Dao has promised us that Longao will die if he dares to go to the Heaven Dao Union, I don't know why I have a bad feeling about this. If Heavenly Dao hadn't entered the Star Secret Realm, it wouldn't have been easy for Longao to take Long Jing away from the Heaven Dao Union. His life might have been in danger. However, the situation had changed. Heavenly Dao had entered the Star Secret Realm and left only 2 territorial Lord Realm divine beasts behind. It would be hard to stop Longao. Putting aside Longao's strength, his soul slave army was enough to stop the 2 territorial Lord Realm divine beasts. Before Long Tian could say anything, his expression suddenly changed. It wasn't just Long Tian, even the other 3 people were shocked. They stared at the 2 people who walked in from the entrance. One was Longao, the other was Long Jing. In just 2 days, not only had Longao rescued Long Jing, but he had also returned successfully. The 4 of them instantly understood what had happened. Heavenly Dao didn't plan any attack. The four of them no longer had anything to rely on. Now, Longao didn't have any scruples. What should the four of them do? Retreat. The four of them rushed to the entrance at the same time. Their speed was getting faster and faster. However, Longao already had the intention to kill them. How could he let the four of them leave? He took Longjing and teleported. In the next second, he blocked the four of them. He smiled and asked, "Where are you going?" The four of them had ugly expressions on their faces because they were surrounded by Yi Bu and Yi Bai. Were the four of them really going to die here? Longao, we belong to the Sky Martial continent. Why do you have to make this situation worse? As long as you are willing, the four of us can choose to submit to you and the Dragon Sect. What do you think? In the face of death, the four of them were afraid. Even if they weren't willing, they could only choose to compromise. Author's note: the third chapter is here. Chapter 1980. Accept or refuse. The four of them were domain lords. If they were willing to submit to him through the bloodline contract, it might not be a bad thing. However, looking at Longjing, Longao's heart hardened. The four of them had touched Longao's bottom line. Kill. With that order, Yi Bu and Yi Bai, who were on the left and right, did not hesitate at all. They immediately rushed toward the four people. Hearing Longao's words, the four of them paled. Although they knew they weren't a match for the two domain ancestors, they didn't sit still and wait for death. Not to mention 1 against 2, even 2 territory ancestors of the Starry Sky territory could easily kill 4 of them. This was the absolute difference in power. The 4 of them who had been lively just a moment ago were now 4 corpses lying on the ground. Longao didn't take their Yuan spirits. He chose to destroy them. Since then, among the 10 great powers, other than the Heaven and Earth sect and the Dragon sect, the other 8 superpowers had been destroyed, including the 3 divine beast races. Now, only the primordial divine dragon and the 9 firmaments divine dragon were left. However, Longao was very clear that with the fall of the 4 people, whether it was the 9 firmaments divine dragon or the primordial divine dragon, they did not dare to act rashly. The 2 domain divine beasts didn't dare to oppose him. After destroying the 4 of them, Longao's enemies on the Martial Heaven continent had been killed. However, he wasn't happy at all. Instead, he felt a bit sad. So what if he took revenge? He had thought that the domain ancestors were the true peak of the martial path, but now he found that there was an even stronger existence above them. The domain lord of the Starry Sky. The godly mathematician was very likely the domain lord of the Starry Sky. Furthermore, he didn't know whether the godly mathematician was a friend or a foe. That wasn't all. The domain lord of the Starry Sky wasn't an invincible existence. The true ruler of the vast Starry Sky wasn't the domain lord or the godly mathematician, but the 12 domain lords. The domain lords of the 5 elements domain, the devouring domain lord, the lightning domain lord, the space domain lord, the time domain lord, the destruction domain lord, the transmigration domain lord, the slaughter domain lord, the divine calculation domain lord, the sword domain lord, the indestructible tyrant body domain lord, and the darkness domain lord. Although the 12 domain lords of the Starry Sky had all died, were they really dead? Longao's intuition told him that the 12 rulers of stars hadn't truly perished. He sighed deeply. Brother Long, what's wrong? Longjing was a meticulous woman. She could sense that Brother Long beside her was a little different. He smiled and nodded. I'm fine. I just thought of something. He didn't want to dwell on this problem any longer. Yi Bu, Yi Bai, we're going to try our best to get a Starry Sky territory ancestor's godhead. No problem. Yi Bu and Yi Bai were very clear about Longao's intention of going all out to compete for the universal star domain ancestor godhead, and they understood everything just by looking at the girl beside them. Putting aside the fact that they had chosen to submit to Huang Xiaolong, just the fact that Longao had given them a universal domain ancestor godhead was enough for them to be grateful. Even if he had to die, he had to help Longao snatch a star territory ancestor's godhead. The 4 of them walked to another area and waited quietly. They had already obtained enough keys. As for whether they would be able to enter the Starry Sky secret realm in 10 months, that was another matter altogether. Longao's group was waiting for the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godhead. Brother Long, I don't want to swallow the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godhead. How could Longao not understand Long Jing's intention? In Long Jing's eyes, the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godhead meant something. As the pinnacle existence in the vast universe, the value of the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godhead was too high. Jing you're the most important person to me. You must swallow the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godhead. When your cultivation base breaks through to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm, I'll be more at ease. Long Jing seemed to want to say something, but Longao beat her to it. Yi Bai, are you too strong enough to resist Qi Tian and Hong Lin? Longao was clear about his own strength, and it was almost impossible for him to defeat the two of them. The only thing he could rely on was Yi Bu and Yi Bai's power. If Shapotian could break through to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm, their chances of defeating the two of them would be greatly increased. Yi Bai and Yi Bu exchanged looks. Yi Bu said helplessly, Master, although Yi Bai and I have broken through to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm, we need 3 years to stabilize our realms. The fastest is 1 year. I'm afraid we won't be able to defeat the two of them even after 3 years. They were telling the truth. Longao had guessed it. After all, breaking through by swallowing the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm and cultivating on one's own were two different things. If the two of them hadn't swallowed the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm and relied on their own efforts to cultivate, the current situation would be completely different. He had no choice. He couldn't take the risk. It wasn't easy to cultivate the two Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm. If something happened to them, Longao had decided that as long as they didn't provoke him, he wouldn't provoke them. As for whether Qi Tian and Hong Lin could leave the Heaven Martial Plane in the future, it was still unknown. Longao had guessed that the divine mathematician's reason for opening the passage wasn't simple. With the divine mathematician's power, not to mention the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm, he wouldn't be afraid even if the Starry Sky Territory Lord came. The keys to open the Starry Sky secret domain appeared one after another. In just 1 month, more than 150 keys had appeared. In order to snatch the keys, more than 1,000 cultivators had fallen, and the number was still increasing. Everyone was depressed because after the 3 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm godheads, there hadn't been another Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm godhead. However, no one dared to leave because no one knew when the next Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm godhead would appear. What if the next Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm godhead appeared when they left? Thinking that Longao had already obtained 3 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm godheads, everyone was filled with regret. If they had known, they would have gotten the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm godheads first. Especially the Territory Ancestor Qi Tian and Hong Lin, they were filled with regret. If they hadn't fought, the 3 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm godheads wouldn't have landed in Longao's hands. However, it was too late to regret now. They could only hope that Longao wouldn't touch the remaining 7 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm godheads. In fact, both of them knew that it was impossible. With Longao's personality, if he had chosen to give up on the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm godheads, he would have left long ago. However, Longao's group of 4 was still here. This could only mean one thing: Longao's ambition was too great. He wasn't satisfied with just 3 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm godheads. He wanted more Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm godheads. Author's note: copy of Chapter 4. Chapter 1981. 1 month later, the 4th Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead appeared. However, this Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead was different. There was a seal around the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead. It was the Star World seal. Sensing this astral world seal, everyone had already guessed what was going on. The divine mathematician wasn't the so-called Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead. He was the legendary Starry Sky Territory Lord. Unbelievable. Everyone was dumbstruck. No one had guessed that the divine mathematician was a Starry Sky Territory Lord, a peerless expert who could control a part of the universe. No one was bothered about whether the divine mathematician was the Starry Sky Territory Lord or not. In their eyes, whether the divine mathematician was a Starry Sky Territory ancestor or a Starry Sky Territory Lord didn't make much of a difference. Everyone rushed madly towards the seal, trying to snatch the Starry Sky Territory ancestor godheads. The two Starry Sky Territory ancestors and Longao's group of 4 didn't move. The 6 of them had guessed that the seal wasn't that simple. Could an ordinary person possibly break the seal of the astral world that Master God Diviner had set up? Just as expected. Everyone started to attack the Star World seal crazily, but to no avail. Even with more than 50,000 Starry Sky cultivators attacking together, they couldn't break the seal. The more they failed, the more regretful they felt. When Longao had snatched the 3 Starry Sky Territory ancestor godheads, there was no Star World seal. Now, the 4th Starry Sky Territory ancestor godhead had a Star World seal. Everyone could only watch but couldn't snatch it. 99% of them gave up. Some were unwilling to give up, so they kept attacking the Star World seal. However, their efforts were in vain. Master, what should we do? What should we do? Longao didn't attack immediately because he knew clearly that if the divine mathematician had chosen to release the 10 Starry Sky Territory ancestor godheads, he would have a chance. Qi Tian and Hong Lin also had the same thought as Longao. Both sides were observing carefully, trying to find the flaw in the Star World seal to see if they could hit it in one strike. The Star World seal's aura shrouded the entire place. Everyone was stunned. No one dared to move, including the 4 Starry Sky Territory ancestors. They had a feeling that if they dared to move, they would be obliterated by the Star World seal's aura. No one knew how powerful Starry Sky borrowing was. The Starry Sky Realm Lord was a legend. Master God Diviner suddenly appeared. Looking at the people in front of him, he stepped on the void and said coldly, "From now on, no one is allowed to leave the Territory Ancestor Peak. 10 months later, whoever has the key can enter the Star Secret Domain. Those who don't have the key will stay here forever." As soon as he finished speaking, the God Diviner's figure disappeared without a trace. Everyone was completely dumbfounded. What did the clairvoyant mean? In other words, out of more than 50,000 Starry Sky cultivators, at most, less than 1,000 people would survive. With 1,000 keys, it was impossible to say that everyone would be able to obtain a key. What if there was someone who could obtain several keys, or even more than 10 keys? There were hundreds of thousands of Starry Sky cultivators, but in less than a year, they had already lost more than 99,000, leaving only less than 1,000. What kind of concept was that? Even if there were more than 1,000 people left, would they still be safe? Not necessarily. This was because after 10 months, those who obtained the key would all enter the Starry Sky Secret Realm. As for how many of them would be able to leave alive, that was unknown. Whether it was Territory Ancestor Qi Tian or Territory Ancestor Honglin, their faces were extremely ugly. They had already guessed it. Now, as they had expected, no one would be able to leave alive after entering the Sky Martial Realm. 10,000 years ago, some people had also entered, but it seemed that they were also doomed. Since it had come to this, what else could they do? No matter what, they couldn't leave. With Master God Diviner's words, the value of the key had increased. Everyone knew that if they couldn't obtain the key to enter the Star Secret Realm, it meant death. Out of more than 50,000 Starry Sky cultivators, only a little more than 1,000 would survive. Keys would continue to appear, but the competition would become more intense. In the past, 10 people would die trying to snatch a key, but now, 100 people would die. It was 10 times more than before, and this was just the beginning. As time went by, the competition would become even more bloody. Longao and the others still didn't move. Whether it was Longao's group or Qi Tian's group, they didn't care about the keys anymore. After all, it was useless to have more keys. To them, the most important thing was the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors' Godhead. "Master, I found the weak point." If the three of you work together, you should be able to break it. He was overjoyed. Longao knew clearly that the Star World's seal laid down by Master God Diviner must have a weak point. Otherwise, Master God Diviner wouldn't be so troublesome. Longao can break the Star World's seal? Hong Lin and Qi Tian sneered when they saw Longao preparing to attack. They knew Longao's strength very well. He was a grade 8 starry sky cultivator. Even if Yi Bu and Yi Bai joined forces, the three of them couldn't break the Star World's seal. Not to mention the three of them, even if the two of them joined forces, they still wouldn't be able to break the Star World's seal. In other words, Hong Lin and Hong Lin believed that they couldn't obtain the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor's godhead. This was just a game played by Master God Diviner. Yi Bu and Yi Bai didn't have any objections. After all, if Longao said to attack, they would attack. As for whether they could break the Star World's seal, they already knew the answer in their hearts. However, Longao had already given each of them a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor's godhead. Thus, they would do their best to help Longao obtain the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor's godhead for Longjing. Master, what should we do? The three of us will attack this point with all our strength. Remember, we only have one chance. Longao knew clearly that if this attack failed to break the Star World's seal, it would be discovered by others. At that time, it would be troublesome if he wanted to continue to snatch the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor's godhead. Yi Bu and Yi Bai also knew the seriousness of the matter. They nodded and Longjing retreated to the side. The three of them came to the front of the Star World's seal. As for the surrounding people, they retreated. If the three of them suddenly attacked, wouldn't it be a massacre? Qi Tian and Hong Lin sneered as they watched. If Longao's group of three could break the Star World's seal, it would be a miracle. The three of them were looking at the same point. If Long Fu hadn't sensed it, no one would be able to break the Star World's seal. Attack! The three of them attacked with all their strength. Longao even used Shatter the Starry Sky. The three of them attacked with all their strength. Even the territory ancestor Qi Tian and Hong Lin didn't dare to take it head-on. Author's note: the 5th chapter is here. Chapter 1982. Boom. After a loud explosion, the seal on the Star World was broken. Ah! Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw that the seal had been broken open. They didn't know how Longao did it. Both territory ancestor Hong Lin and territory ancestor Qi Tian dashed out in a blink of an eye. However, how could they be faster than Longao? In the next second, the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead was in Longao's hand. Longao! Get lost! Without dodging, Longao's group attacked with all their strength. The two territory ancestors managed to dodge, but the dozens of cultivators were killed. Looking at the dozens of corpses on the ground, who dared to go up? Everyone was scared silly. Each and every one of them looked at Longao in horror. They were afraid and hateful. Longao had taken another Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead. Counting, Longao had obtained 4 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godheads. There were only 10 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godheads, and Longao had obtained 4 of them. There were only 6 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godheads left, and no one knew what had happened. If they appeared normally, as long as they were careful, the others would have a chance. But now, the situation was different. If the remaining 6 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godheads were sealed by the Star World, the others wouldn't have a chance. If Longao could break the seal the first time, he could break it the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the 5th time, and even the 6th time. In this case, did it mean that the remaining 6 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godheads would all be taken by Longao? No one was willing to do that. Longao, you've crossed the line. Gritting their teeth, they hated that they couldn't kill Longao. But could they do it? Not to mention the others, even the 2 territory ancestors didn't dare to say they could do it. Ignoring the others, Longao held the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead in his hand and smiled. Jing swallow this Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead first. I'll take care of the rest. She nodded obediently. Although Long Jing was very worried about Longao's safety, she chose to believe in Longao. He directly chose to devour the Star Domain Ancestor's godhead. Longao knew that Long Jing's starting point was too low. Even if she had devoured 9 Starry Sky godheads and 1 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor godhead, it wouldn't be easy for her to break through to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm. The winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. Since you can't break the seal, who can you blame? He was rendered speechless by Longao's words. Snatching the Universal Star Domain Ancestor godhead depended on one's own ability. No one could break the seal of the astral world, but many people were still unconvinced. Longao, even if you can break the seal on the star world, there is no need for you to take away all the godheads. He sneered. Longao didn't back down in the slightest. Instead, he said domineeringly, if you aren't convinced, I welcome you to kill me. If I die, I won't touch the remaining universal ancestral godhead. Did anyone dare to make a move? Seeing that no one dared to make a move, Longao continued, since you don't dare to make a move, shut up. If you provoke me, not to mention the Universal Star Domain Ancestor godhead, I'll even snatch the key. At that time, less than 100 people will be able to leave this place alive. A threat. A blatant threat. However, no one doubted Longao's words. He could even snatch the Universal Star Domain Ancestor godhead, not to mention the key to open the Star Secret Realm. If they couldn't get the Universal Star Domain Ancestor godhead, they wouldn't die. However, if they couldn't get the key, they wouldn't be able to leave this place alive after 9 months. Compromise. 99% of them chose to compromise and leave slowly. After thinking about it, they decided to be safe. As long as they could snatch the key, they wouldn't touch the Universal Star Domain Ancestor godhead. The 2 Universal Star Domain Ancestors, Honglin Territory Ancestor and Qitian Territory Ancestor. The 3 Universal Star Domain Emperors, Ouyang Tuor, Lin Yi, and Li Mai. None of the Starry Sky Domain Emperors and Starry Sky Domain Lords were willing to leave. After all, the Starry Sky Domain Emperors and Starry Sky Domain Lords knew that if they could obtain the Starry Sky Domain Ancestor's godhead and break through to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm, their chances of survival would increase greatly even if they entered the Starry Sky Secret Domain. Longao, you've obtained 4 Universal Star Domain Ancestor godheads. I hope you can stop. What do you think? Due to Longao and the 2 Universal Star Domain Ancestors' strength, no one was willing to pursue this matter. After all, the 4 Universal Star Domain Ancestor godheads had been devoured. Even if they fought to the death, they wouldn't be able to retrieve the Universal Star Domain Ancestor godheads. Everyone only hoped for one thing, and that was that Longao would not attack again. There were still 6 Universal Star Domain Ancestor godheads. As long as Longao didn't make a move, it wasn't a bad thing. Everyone was afraid that Longao wouldn't let go of the remaining 6 Universal Star Domain Ancestor godheads. If that was the case, everyone knew that no one could snatch the Universal Star Domain Ancestor godheads faster than Longao. It was basically impossible to break the seal of the Universal Star Domain Ancestor godhead. Until now, there was still no one who could figure out how Longao did it. Would Longao agree? Longao smiled and said, I've already said it. The winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. If you're not convinced, you can make a move. As long as you can defeat me, not to mention letting go, I can even give you my life. Longao pulled Long Jing's hand and left with the 2 of them. He completely ignored the crowd and his intention was clear. Longao wouldn't give up on the remaining 6 Cosmic Domain Ancestor godheads. Once they appeared, he would try to get his hands on them without hesitation. What could they do? Take action? Join hands? Would it work? They weren't confident that they could kill Longao. Qitian Territory Ancestor and Honglin Territory Ancestor sighed deeply. They had seen monstrous, arrogant, and overbearing people, but they had never seen someone like Longao. Left with no choice, they could only compromise and hope that the seal of the Universal Star Domain Ancestor godheads wouldn't appear again. That way, when the universal star domain ancestor godheads appeared again, they would have a chance to snatch them. Even the two universal star domain ancestor had chosen to compromise. What about the others? Master, you're really overbearing. Yi Bu and Yi Bai were astonished because they had never thought that Longao, who was just a level 8 universal star domain cultivator, wouldn't be afraid of any universal star experts, including the two universal star domain ancestors. The two of them were very clear that Longao's overbearingness wasn't because of the two of them. It was because Longao's overbearingness was already there before the two of them. If it were other people, would they dare to be like this? Some people are cheap. The more you retreat, the more they'll chase after you. Rather than that, we should be tougher. I know them too well. In this situation, no one dares to take action. P.S. Copy the 6th chapter. Chapter 1983. What he said made sense. However, both of them knew that only the master could do such a thing. If it was someone else, they wouldn't be able to do it. No one could replicate the master's domineering nature. Master, even if Madam has devoured 9 starry sky godheads and the starry sky domain ancestor godhead, it's not easy for her to improve quickly. What do you mean? Longao was very clear that Yi Bu's words had an underlying meaning. Just as he had expected. Master, if we can get the Starry Sky Domain Lord Godhead, Starry Sky Domain Emperor Godhead, and Starry Sky Domain Emperor Godhead, I believe Madam's cultivation speed will increase greatly after she devours them. Longao already knew what Yi Bu meant. From the rank 1 Starry Sky Domain Emperor Godhead to the Starry Sky Domain Ancestor Godhead, Starry Sky Domain Lord Godhead, Starry Sky Domain Emperor Godhead, and Starry Sky Domain Emperor Godhead. Since he said so, he did it. Longao led the 3 of them to kill the Starry Sky Domain Lord, Starry Sky Domain Emperor, and Starry Sky Domain Emperor. With the 3 of them's strength, they managed to kill a Starry Sky Domain Lord and Starry Sky Domain Emperor in a few minutes. The remaining 3 Starry Sky Domain Emperors were Ouyang Tuor, Lin Yi, and Li Mai. With regards to Longao's meaning, everyone already knew in their hearts that everyone was in danger. On the contrary, the weak people were relieved. 3 of you, which one of you is willing to sacrifice yourself? Longao's meaning was clear. The 3's faces turned gloomy. This was simply a humiliation. But what could the 3 of them do? After all, the other party's strength was there for all to see. He even had the help of 2 Starry Sky Domain ancestors. If they didn't hand over one of them, all 3 of them would be in danger. Not willing. Longao's rhetorical question made the 3's faces even gloomier. F***ck, who would be willing to die? Longao, you've gone too far. Winner takes all. If your strength was far above mine, I believe you would do the same. I didn't have any complaints when the 3 of you joined hands to hunt me down. What do you think? The winner takes all, and the loser takes all. Strength is everything, and the strong are respected. How could the 3 of them not understand such a simple logic? But even so, there was no reason for him to stand out and die unless there was something wrong with his head. Looking at the faces of the 3 people, Longao suddenly smiled and said, "Since you guys aren't willing to choose, then I'll do you guys a favor. The 3 of you can start fighting now. The loser will become my food. After 1 minute, if you guys still don't start fighting, I'll personally take action." Longao slowly retreated with the 3 of them. When they were about 100 meters away, the 4 of them stopped. War? Or not to start a war? If they started a war, wouldn't they become clowns? If they didn't start the battle, then once Longao made his move, the 3 of them would most likely suffer. The 3 of them looked at each other. In such a situation, only one of them could survive. Thinking of this, the 3 of them moved at the same time. In the blink of an eye, the 3 of them had already started fighting. The battle between the 3 great Starry Sky Domain Emperors was extremely earth-shattering. Moreover, it was a battle of life and death. Many people had already gathered around to watch. Everyone shook their heads helplessly. The 3 Starry Sky Domain Emperors, even in the vast starry sky, were existences that no one dared to provoke. However, in a small middle-rank plane, they were forced to such a state by a little starry sky cultivator. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they would have found it hard to believe. As for Qi Tian Territory Ancestor and Hong Lin Territory Ancestor, they didn't come to watch. Although the three of them were fighting, they felt that they had lost face. Everyone was suppressed by Longao. The battle between the three of them was getting faster and faster. Under the crazy attacks, Ouyang Tuor couldn't resist anymore. Among the three starry sky domain emperors, only Ouyang Tuor was a man. The other two, Lin Yi and Li Mai, were women. Unnaturally, the two women slowly began to join forces to attack Ouyang Tuor. In this case, under the situation of 1 against 2, Ouyang Tuor's end could already be imagined. Crack! Ouyang Tuor was hit hard. The two women didn't hesitate at all. Since things had come to this point, they should take advantage of his weakness and kill him. Enough! Longao stopped the two women. Longao, what do you mean? The two women were afraid. If they were in the vast sea of stars, they could run away or hide. They believed that it wouldn't be easy to find them in this vast sea of stars. But now, because of the seal on the Territory Ancestor Peak, they couldn't leave the peak. Not only them, but the two starry sky domain ancestors couldn't leave either. In this case, as long as Longao wanted to, he could kill them anytime. Longao alone was troublesome enough, let alone the two starry sky domain ancestors. In fact, the two women admired Yi Bu and Yi by a lot. If they could swallow the starry sky domain ancestor god divinity and break through to the starry sky domain ancestor realm, they would be willing to submit to Longao. However, they had missed the chance. Even if they wanted to submit to him, Longao wouldn't want them. Ouyang Tuor, bye-bye. Longao didn't hesitate and took action to kill Ouyang Tuor. With his competence, refining the starry sky god divinity wasn't an easy task. However, with Long Fu's help, it would take less time. Longao was a man of his words. He only needed one person. The other two women were nothing in his eyes. In this place, besides the two starry sky domain ancestors, Longao could kill anyone he wanted. Longao, wait a minute. What's the matter? He was curious as he didn't know why they called him. Although he didn't want to kill them, it didn't mean that they were friends. As long as he had a chance, he wouldn't hesitate to kill them. Whether they were men or women, they were the same in Longao's eyes. Longao, we want to submit to you. Do you agree? If this matter was spread out, no one would believe it. Two starry sky domain emperors were begging a level 8 starry sky cultivator to submit to him. What was wrong with this world? The two women were nervous because they didn't know if Longao would agree or not. What if he didn't? Where would they put their faces? No matter what, they were still women. Your request. Longao wasn't a fool. Of course, he knew that they wouldn't submit to him for no reason. After all, they were starry sky domain emperors. Was it because of the starry sky domain ancestor god divinity? Besides this reason, he couldn't think of any other reason why they would submit to him for no reason. Longao, we don't have any conditions. Is that true? Longao smiled. The two women retreated in order to advance. It was a good plan. Pondering for a while, Longao nodded and said, Bloodline contract. P.S. Delivered to the 7th chapter. Chapter 1984. Bloodline contract. Whether it was Lin Yi or Li Mai, of course, they knew what Longao meant. Once they chose to sign the bloodline contract, it meant that in the future, Longao could kill them with a single thought. This was the overbearing power of the bloodline contract. If it were in the past, they would never agree. As starry sky domain emperors, not to mention a grade 8 starry sky cultivator, they wouldn't even submit to a starry sky territory ancestor. But now, the situation was completely different. They knew that Longao had agreed, but they weren't sure if Longao would agree or not. They hurried. Without the slightest hesitation, they nodded. Ah! Seeing that the two starry sky domain emperors were willing to sign the bloodline contract and submit to Longao, everyone was dumbfounded. The gap between the two sides was too big. Even if they chose to submit, It would be Longao submitting to the two Starry Sky Domain Emperors, not the other way around. The order was messed up. What were they after? Were they after the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead? However, they didn't get the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead for nothing. In exchange, they would be trapped. After they chose to sign the bloodline contract, they would lose their freedom. Of all the people in the surroundings, some were envious and jealous, while others were mocking and disdainful. Kill. An order was given. Yi Bu and Yi Bai's figures dashed out, killing whoever they saw. Everyone ran in all directions in fright because Longao seemed to have lost his mind. Under such circumstances, he still dared to kill everyone. Even so, with the two's speed and strength, they still killed more than 100 Starry Sky cultivators. No one dared to scold them. After all, Longao's strength was obvious. Provoking Longao at this time was a dead end. They would hide as far as they could. Welcome, both of you. You will get one Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead each. The two women didn't show any expression on their faces, but they were pleasantly surprised. The biggest reason they had chosen to submit to Longao was because of the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godhead. In total, Longao had obtained 4 Universal Domain Ancestor Godheads, while Yi Bu and Yi Bai had also obtained Universal Domain Ancestor Godheads. In 3 short days, they had broken through to the Universal Domain Ancestor realm. Take a gamble. The two of them choosing to submit was actually a gamble. If they lost the bet, they would just die. In any case, they already knew that they wouldn't be able to leave the Heaven Martial realm alive after stepping into it. If he won the bet, not only would he not die, but he could also devour the Universal Star Territory Ancestor Godhead and break through to the Universal Star Territory Ancestor realm. Hearing Longao's words, both of them knew that they had made the right bet this time. Based on Longao's current situation, it wouldn't be difficult for him to obtain more Universal Domain Ancestor Godheads. Thinking that they would soon be able to devour the Universal Star Territory Ancestor Godheads and break through to the Universal Star Territory Ancestor realm, they were ecstatic. Thank you, Master. Both of them saluted respectfully. Longao's team expanded once again. From Yi Bu and Yi Bai at the beginning, there were now 2 more Starry Sky Domain Emperors. If he could obtain 2 Universal Domain Ancestor Godheads, Longao was confident that he could create 2 more Universal Domain Ancestor Realm experts in 3 short days. At that time, no one on the Domain Ancestor peak would be his match. He wouldn't even need to be wary of the Territory Ancestor Qi Tian and Honglin Territory Ancestor. The next step was to obtain 2 more Universal Domain Ancestor Godheads. Longao's group of 6 didn't move. They didn't even touch the key that appeared. Whether it was Longao's group of 6 or Qi Tian's group of 2, all of them were waiting for the 5th Universal Domain Ancestor Godhead to appear. 9-headed Universal Python, Universal Domain Ancestor Realm Divine Beast. Looking at the 9-headed python that appeared, everyone was stupefied. Regarding the legendary Starry Sky 9-headed python, all the Starry Sky cultivators from the vast Starry Sky were no stranger to it. Although the 9-headed Universal Python was just a Universal Domain Ancestor, its true strength was something that even the Universal Domain Ancestor had to avoid. Wahahaha, this time, I can eat my fill. Laughing crazily, the 9-headed Universal Python that had just appeared started to attack crazily. Everyone had already guessed that this was the marvelous mathematician's plan. The 9-headed Universal Python was too powerful. It could swallow cultivators in the universe alive. The 9 heads didn't even pause for a moment. 1 for you, 1 for me, and 1 for him. 1 mouthful, or strictly speaking, 9 mouthfuls, represented the fall of 9 Starry Sky cultivators. It was too terrifying. Longao's group of 6 was a little shocked. They were worried about Longjing's safety. After all, her cultivation hadn't broken through to the Universal Domain Ancestor realm, let alone the Universal Domain Ancestor realm. Currently, Longjing was still in the Divine Path realm. With such strength, not to mention the 9-headed Universal Python, any random cultivator in the universe could easily kill Longjing. Because of this, Longao thought for a while and decided to let Longjing enter the Dragon Seal space first. As for the other 4 people, Longao asked, "Are the 4 of you going to enter my spatial artifact or are you going to follow me to fight?" Fight with the 9-headed universal python? That was simply courting death. However, since Longao had said so, what else could the 4 of them say? Would they leave a bad impression on Longao? "We swear to follow Master to death." All right. Longao was very excited because he had already made a decision. The 4th, 5th and 6th floors of the 7 orifices exquisite pagoda were all vacant. The 9-headed starry python's strength was enough to become the guardian of the 6th floor of the 7 orifices exquisite pagoda. Moreover, the 9-headed starry python was very powerful. If it could become the guardian of the 7 orifices exquisite pagoda, it would mean a lot. However, Longao didn't act recklessly. After all, the 9-headed universal python's strength was there. If he was careless, he would be swallowed by the 9-headed universal python. The consequences would be unimaginable. "The 4 of you follow me closely." The 4 of them didn't underestimate Longao at all. Previously, Longao was really a 3rd-level starry sky cultivator, but he dared to resist the universal domain ancestor. Before that, they had never seen such an arrogant and overbearing person. That was why the 4 of them were willing to follow Longao. The 9-headed universal python's body was too huge. It was more than 100 meters long. At first glance, it looked like a moving mountain. Blood-curdling screams arose one after another. At the same time, each scream meant the death of a starry sky cultivator. The 9-headed universal python's speed and strength were very fast, as if it wanted to swallow everyone. Qi Tian territory ancestor and Honglin territory ancestor hid far away. They didn't care about the others' lives. The 9-headed universal python didn't attack the 2 territory ancestors. Chapter 1985. The 9-headed starry sky python wasn't a fool. Even if it was strong, it couldn't defeat 2 territory ancestors. Once the 2 joined hands, it would be a big trouble for it. Seeing the 2 territory ancestors not taking action, the 9-headed starry sky python was thrilled. It could swallow anyone under the starry sky emperor realm. The remaining 2 starry sky territory emperors, Lin Yi and Li Mai, had 2 starry sky territory ancestors with them. The starry sky 9-headed python didn't dare to attack Longao's group. It was looking for opportunities. "Yi Bu, Yi Bai, take action." The 5 of them took action at the same time, crazily attacking the 9-headed starry sky python. Being attacked, the 9-headed starry sky python was enraged. However, it didn't dare to be careless. Anyway, the other side had 2 territory ancestors and 2 territory emperors. The 9-headed starry sky python didn't put Longao in its eyes. People around were running away crazily as if they had just escaped from death. At this moment, those who survived were grateful to Longao. Although they knew that Longao wouldn't save them, without Longao's help, they couldn't have escaped alive. Territory ancestors Qi Tian and Hong Lin were also frightened. What was wrong with Longao? They understood clearly that as long as Longao didn't take action, the 9-headed starry sky python wouldn't attack. He could have dodged it easily. Why did he have to take action? Crazy. Did Longao want to subdue the 9-headed starry sky python? It didn't seem possible. However, they were sure that Longao wouldn't attack the 9-headed starry sky python for no reason if he didn't benefit from it. The 5 of them joined hands to deal with the 9-headed starry sky python. No matter how strong the 9-headed starry sky python was, it couldn't defeat the 5 of Longao's team. "Longao, I'm here to help you." Right at this moment, a shadow shot out from Longao's body. It was a small black pagoda. It was the 7 orifices exquisite pagoda. The small black tower instantly grew bigger, 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 and bigger continuously. In a few seconds, the small black pagoda had turned into a giant black pagoda with 7 floors. Subdued. I refuse to accept this. The 9-headed python did not expect to stumble into the legendary 7 orifices exquisite pagoda at this moment. The 9-headed starry sky python was confident to fight against a territory ancestor of the starry sky. Only the 7 orifices exquisite pagoda in front of him didn't have any power to resist. Whoosh! The 9-headed starry sky python had already been suppressed. Looking at the small black pagoda in his hand, Longao was a little dumbfounded. According to Exquisite, the 7 orifices exquisite pagoda was temporarily unable to help him. But now, the starry sky 9-headed python is very suitable for the 7 orifices exquisite pagoda. It was a simple sentence, but Longao already understood what it meant. In the end, it was Exquisite who had taken a fancy to the starry sky 9-headed python, which coincided with his thoughts. Longao suppressed the 9-headed starry sky python? He was not surprised. Longao's miraculous deeds had made people numb. Not to mention suppressing the 9-headed starry sky python, even killing a territory ancestor of the starry sky territory wasn't something strange. Not to mention the others, even Yi Bu and Yi Bai were a little dumbstruck. They had never thought that their master could be so powerful that he could suppress the 9-headed starry sky python. Moreover, the latter didn't have any power to resist. You too, start refining the starry sky territory ancestor's godhead. You must succeed in 3 days. Yes, master. Lin Yi and Li Mai, of course, knew what their master meant. In this case, if they couldn't refine the starry sky territory ancestor's godhead and become the territory ancestor of the starry sky territory ancestor realm, it would be troublesome. Lin Yi and Li Mai disappeared in a flash. Longao didn't ask them if they agreed or not because he knew that with Long Fu's help, although it was a little dangerous, they could almost succeed. In this case, it was better to help them become the territory ancestor of the starry sky territory ancestor realm first. Qi Tian and Hong Lin thought for a while and decided to compromise. The two of them found Longao and went straight to the point. Longao, if we fight on our own, 9 months later, I'm afraid we'll be in trouble. Alliance. Longao didn't need to ask as he knew what they meant. But was it possible? If no one trusted the other, it was impossible to form an alliance. Longao wouldn't trust them, and they wouldn't trust Longao either. Bloodline contract. As long as you agree to submit to me, I will protect you. What do you think? Impossible. What a joke. They had never thought that with their status and competence, how could they submit to someone? Moreover, it was a bloodline contract. Even if they didn't form an alliance, they wouldn't agree. Goodbye. He turned around and left. He didn't give them a chance to talk. Looking at the departing figure, both territory ancestor Hong Lin and territory ancestor Qi Tian's faces darkened to the extreme. Their faces were grimaced. Master, Lin Yi and Li Mai have devoured the starry sky territory ancestors' godheads, but Yi Bu didn't ask, but the meaning in his words was clear. Since the 5th and 6th starry sky territory ancestors' godheads hadn't appeared, how did they devour the starry sky territory ancestors' godheads? Yi Bu wasn't the only one who couldn't figure it out. Even Yi Bai couldn't figure it out. It was too strange. In fact, the two of them had thought of something, but they didn't dare to imagine that their master would be so lucky to obtain 2 starry sky territory ancestors' godheads at the same time. Longao smiled and couldn't contain his excitement. You're right. When I was suppressing the 9-headed starry sky serpent, I found 2 starry sky territory ancestors' godheads in its body. Even Longao hadn't thought that he would be so lucky. He had only wanted to suppress the 9-headed starry sky serpent and become the guardian of the 7 orifices exquisite pagoda. To his surprise, he found 2 starry sky territory ancestors' godheads in the 9-headed starry sky serpent's body. Yi Bu and Yi Bai looked at each other. When one's luck came, they couldn't stop it even if they wanted to. The master's luck was too good. He had obtained 2 starry sky territory ancestors' godheads at the same time. Out of the 10 starry sky territory ancestors' godheads, 6 of them had appeared, and the master had obtained all of them. It was unbelievable. Moreover, the two of them had guessed that the divine mathematician had purposely arranged the 2 starry sky territory ancestors' godheads in the 9-headed starry sky serpent's body. Master, if other people know about this, I'm afraid there will be big trouble. The two of them were worried. After all, the master had obtained 6 starry sky territory ancestors' godheads, and there were only 4 left. If other people knew about this, they would go crazy. Chapter 1986. Would Longao care? He didn't care before, let alone now. Longao didn't say anything. In these 3 days, he did his best to help the 2 women refine the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godheads and become a Territory Ancestor. The result was as expected. 3 days later. Whether it was Lin Yi or Li Mai, with Long Fu's help, they successfully refined the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godheads and became Starry Sky Territory Ancestors. When the 2 of them appeared, they immediately caused a commotion. 2 more Starry Sky Territory Ancestors had appeared. Even a fool would have understood what had happened. The Starry Sky 9-headed python. Longao could create 2 Territory Ancestors because he had obtained 2 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godheads. Regret. Qi Tian and Hong Lin were extremely regretful. If they had known this would happen, they wouldn't have taken action. Even if it was risky, as long as they could kill the Starry Sky 9-headed python, they could have gotten the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godheads. But now, Longao had gotten it first. This time, no one was envious, not even Qi Tian and Hong Lin. Not only was he not envious, he even began to admire Longao. Was it really luck? It might not be luck. If Longao hadn't killed the Starry Sky 9-headed python, he wouldn't have gotten the 2 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godheads. Even if they knew about it, would they dare to fight the Starry Sky 9-headed python? Among the 4 Territory Ancestors of the Starry Sky, Longao had reached the peak. Not to mention others, even Qi Tian and Hong Lin weren't qualified to provoke Longao. All of you, follow me. Light flashed, and Longao's group of 5 disappeared. Time trickled by. 9 months passed in the blink of an eye. Besides Longao, who had survived with the help of the Dragon Seal Space, the others, including Qi Tian and Hong Lin, had fallen. No one could enter the Star Secret Territory alive. The Territory Ancestor Peak disappeared. Longao's group of 6 appeared. Long Jing had officially broken through to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Realm. At this speed, she would break through to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Realm in less than 10 years. In 9 months, Longao had successfully obtained the remaining 4 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godheads. He heaved a heavy sigh. Hundreds of thousands of Starry Sky cultivators, except for Lin Yi and a few others, all of them died. Not only that. Apart from the Heaven and Earth sect, everyone else had perished. In other words, the only ones left on the Martial Heaven continent were the cultivators from the outer islands. It was unknown whether they were still alive or not. However, according to Longao's guess, these people were probably doomed. Let's go. After finding Shapotian and the others, Longao brought everyone back to the Massacre Abyss. The seal of the Massacre Abyss had already been opened. Longao's smooth return made everyone extremely happy. When everyone knew what had happened, they sighed endlessly. The 5 Starry Sky Territory Ancestors were Shapotian, Lin Yi, Li Mai, Yi Bu, and Yi Bai. As for Long Jing, although she had yet to break through to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Realm, she had already devoured the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead. In the future, she would definitely break through to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Realm. As for the remaining 4 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godheads, Longao had already decided. His grandfather would have 1 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead, his parents would have 1 each, and Aoshua would have 1 Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead. As for the others, he had yet to decide. The Dragon Sect was harmonious, but other than a few people, no one knew about the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead. It was the Dragon Sect's top secret. With the Heaven and Earth Sect's disappearance, the Dragon Sect was the only one left. However, Longao had decided to hide the Dragon Sect, causing the Martial Heaven continent to be in chaos. Without the 10 directions, the other sects began to rise, re-establishing the 10 directions. Brother Long, are you really going to leave the Martial Heaven continent? Aoshua, Long Jing, Yu Yin, and Murong Yanga were surprised. Although Longao hadn't accepted Murong Yanga, the 3 of them had already accepted her. As for his relationship with Murong Yanga, It would depend on fate in the future. The matters in the Martial Heaven continent are basically settled. The Massacre Abyss has 10 Starry Sky territory ancestors. I believe nothing will happen. I have many things to do, so I have to go to the vast Starry Sky. Longao knew what the 4 of them meant. Before the 4 of them could speak, Longao continued, I can't bring you there. The vast Starry Sky is filled with dangers. If I bring you along, I won't be able to take care of you. Wait for me here. When I'm done, I'll come back immediately. Okay. Looking at Longao, the 4 of them sighed helplessly. Brother Long, you have to be careful. If something happens to you, the 4 of us won't be able to live. Longao's expression changed slightly, but he didn't say anything. Since things had already come to this, he had to be ruthless. He couldn't bring the 4 of them into the vast Starry Sky. There were 2 important things for him to do in the Starry Sky this time. The first thing was definitely to find Bai Ling and Xiling. The 2 of them had left the Martial Heaven plane for him. As for what had happened to them, he still didn't know. So no matter how difficult it was, even if he had to travel through the entire Starry Sky, he had to find them. The second thing was to find out about his origins. No matter what the mysterious young man said, he didn't want to believe it because he didn't look for it himself. The Lun clan was the only clue. Therefore, he had to find the Lun clan this time. As for the Martial Heaven continent, other than the godly mathematician, no one dared to provoke the Massacre Abyss. Even the Heavenly Tao didn't dare to casually provoke the Massacre Abyss. There were 10 territory ancestors in the Starry Sky. Not to mention the Martial Heaven plane, even in the entire Starry Sky, they were incomparably powerful existences. Longao was almost certain that the godly mathematician wouldn't take action against the Massacre Abyss. Otherwise, with the godly mathematician's strength, whether it was him or the Massacre Abyss, they wouldn't have been able to grow. 10 territory ancestors in the Starry Sky. If this news spread through the vast Starry Sky, it would shake the entire Starry Sky. Even a high-grade plane didn't have 10 territory ancestors. It was also because of the 10 territory ancestors that Longao felt relieved to leave the Martial Heaven plane and go to the vast Starry Sky. Otherwise, even if he had 10,000 chances, he wouldn't go to the vast Starry Sky. Before leaving the Martial Heaven plane, Longao planned to take a trip to the Crystal Palace. No matter what, this place was the godly mathematician's territory. As long as the godly mathematician agreed, the Massacre Abyss would be completely safe. Not to mention others, even if the Starry Sky World Lord came, he wouldn't be able to destroy the Massacre Abyss. Chapter 1987. Hundreds of thousands of cultivators had died, shocking the Tianwu continent. However, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing for the Tianwu continent. In the current Tianwu continent, besides the secluded sects that had cultivators, the rest of the sects didn't have any. The 2 secluded sects were the Heaven and Earth sect and the Dragon sect. Outer Sea. Inside the Crystal Palace. Longao, you're finally here. Senior, thank you for showing mercy. Longao knew clearly that even if he had all kinds of trump cards, if the godly mathematician hadn't shown mercy, he wouldn't have been able to resist. Why did the godly mathematician help him? Until now, Longao couldn't figure it out. Was it really because of his talent? There were countless geniuses in the vast universe. Longao was almost sure that there were many people who were more talented than him in the vast universe. You're not going to enter the Star Secret Domain? Longao had decided not to enter the Star Secret Domain. He couldn't wait any longer. If it weren't for Bai Ling, he could delay his trip to the Star Secret Domain. As for finding his origin, he could do it at any time. Senior, I have something to do in the vast universe. I won't enter the Star Secret Domain for the time being. He nodded. All right. When you come back, I'll arrange for you to enter the Star Secret Domain. Remember, the vast universe is different from the Tianwu continent. Be careful. I look forward to your return. Senior, after I leave, I hope you can help me take care of the Dragon sect. That was the main point. The Massacre Abyss already has 10 territory ancestors. Unless the Starry Sky Boundary Lord comes, there's no need to worry about the Massacre Abyss. As for the starry sky boundary lord, don't worry. We have an agreement. They won't come. With the godly mathematician's promise, Longao finally heaved a sigh of relief. In that case, I'll take my leave. Longao turned and left, disappearing instantly. Inside the crystal palace. Looking at the disappearing figure, the godly mathematician smiled and closed his eyes again. Just as Longao was about to leave the Qianwu continent, Yi Gudu suddenly appeared. The two of them arrived at the top of the clouds. Longao, are you going to the vast starry sky? Longao didn't hide anything from him. Longao nodded. That's right. Now that the martial heaven continent's matters have been resolved, I want to go to the starry sky and broaden my horizons. As for the matter of Bai Ling and Lun returning to the clan, Longao did not mention a word. It's good to broaden your horizons, but you have to be careful. There are some experts and planes that you absolutely cannot go to. Would Longao be afraid? Thank you. Yi Dugu sighed deeply and said, You're the first person to leave the Sky Marshal plane in tens of thousands of years. No matter who it is, as long as they enter the Sky Marshal plane, they will not be able to leave alive. Longao had seen it for himself. Although he didn't know what happened 10,000 years ago, Longao saw it with his own eyes. Hundreds of thousands of cultivators in the starry sky, other than the few who had submitted to him, had all died. It was all the work of the God Diviner. As for why, Longao still didn't know. Other than the God Diviner and Yi Dugu, no one else knew the reason. However, the God Diviner was truly domineering. He had clearly borrowed the power of the starry sky, but he had still pretended to be a pig to eat a tiger. Like this, his chess pieces had been played around with until they had all died. Big brother Yi, did you need me for something? Longao knew that Yi Dugu wouldn't have come looking for him if he didn't need him for something. Longao, I'll wait for you to come back. I'll be leaving first. Without waiting for Longao to react, Yi Dugu turned around and left quickly. In a short while, he had already disappeared without a trace. Longao was a bit dumbfounded. What was Yi Dugu trying to do? Longao was almost certain that Yi Dugu had come looking for him for something. Someone had definitely sent him a message through spiritual sense. Otherwise, Yi Dugu wouldn't have left. Could it be the God Diviner? Longao didn't bother with that question. In any case, his top priority was to go to the starry sky and find Bai Ling and Xiling. He also had to find Lun and return to his clan to figure out his origins. Longao didn't immediately leave. He was preparing to leave early in the morning. At this time, he was preparing to take a good look at the martial heaven continent. Longao was very clear that he wouldn't be able to return for the time being. Originally, he had wanted to stay in the slaughter abyss for a few more days, but he was afraid that people wouldn't be willing to part with him. Longao entered the 9 provinces continent and went to Scarlet Flame Town. Scarlet Flame Town was once more bustling with activity. Although the martial heaven continent no longer had the 10 directional tripods and the dragon sect had gone into seclusion, everyone knew that the true number 1 sect of the martial heaven continent wasn't the heaven and earth sect, but the dragon sect. Longao didn't reveal his identity. Instead, he entered Scarlet Flame Town as an ordinary person. Walking on the main street, listening to the sounds of business on both sides, Longao smiled. Once he found Bai Ling and Xiling, as well as his own identity, he would bring his family back to Scarlet Flame Town. Living a secluded and stable life wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It was also a happy thing. Just like that, Longao aimlessly walked on the main street. He was immersed in the scene, as if he was really an ordinary person. Dusk slowly disappeared, and night quietly descended. Longao found a beef noodle restaurant, found a bowl of noodles, and ate alone. The next day, early morning. Longao left Scarlet Flame Town and went directly to the void of the 9 heavens, the outermost layer of the plane. Although hundreds of thousands of starry sky cultivators had died, the seal of the plane had not been broken. The reason was very simple. Once the seal was broken, the starry sky cultivators outside would continuously pour into the martial heaven plane. At that time, it would be very troublesome. However, with the divine mathematician, the Starry Sky World Master, there was no one who could break the seal. Taking a step back, even if someone could break the seal, they wouldn't be a match for the divine mathematician. The Starry Sky World Master was a legendary existence in the starry sky. When Longao arrived at the outermost layer, he didn't need to do anything. He was very clear that the seal would automatically open. In truth, Longao was very clear that he couldn't break the seal. As expected. As soon as Longao arrived at the outermost layer, a hole opened in the seal. It just so happened that a person had left. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Longao's figure instantly disappeared. In the next second, the seal was resealed. Following Longao's departure, the Slaughter Abyss went into seclusion. At this time, the Martial Heaven continent became even more chaotic. Because all the sects wanted to rise, they wanted to re-establish the balance of power. In the chaos, rivers of blood flowed, and corpses were strewn everywhere. The divine mathematician didn't appear to interfere. He allowed the chaos to begin. Author's note: Little 9 is going to sleep first. I'm really tired. I'm finally going to start writing about the entire starry sky. The next chapter is about to officially enter the starry sky. Little 9 is a bit excited. Everything will appear. By Ling and Xiling's identities, the divine mathematician's identity, the 12 rulers of the starry sky, the Lun clan, Longao's true body, and so on. Chapter 1988. In the vast starry sky, there were many planes. No one knew how big the starry sky was, and no one knew how many planes there were. At a glance, there was no end to it. The densely packed planes were everywhere. The starry sky was divided into countless small planes, and each small plane was overseen by a powerful and mysterious realm lord. The Sky Marshal plane was one of the small planes. As for whether the realm lord was the godly mathematician, no one knew. The starry sky realm lord had always been mysterious, and his whereabouts were unknown. Other than the countless small planes, there were also countless starry sky empires in the starry sky. It was said that each starry sky empire was formed by countless small planes. One could imagine how powerful the starry sky empires were. The Sky Marshal plane that Longao was in belonged to one of the starry sky empires. This starry sky empire was called the Heaven-Devouring Empire. The Heaven-Devouring Empire controlled tens of thousands of small planes. When Longao left the Sky Marshal continent, the Sky Marshal plane behind him started to move and slowly disappeared. Before leaving, the godly mathematician gave Longao a token. In the future, he could use the token to find the coordinates of the Sky Marshal plane. Looking at the starry sky in front of him, Longao fell into a daze. The departure of his Yuan spirit and the appearance of his true body were two completely different concepts. The starry sky energy here was too abundant. It was no wonder that everyone was willing to step into the starry sky. It was because cultivating here was much faster than cultivating in the Sky Marshal plane. The starry sky was divided into low-grade planes, mid-grade planes, and high-grade planes. The Sky Marshal plane was a mid-grade plane. Longao wanted to go to the high-grade planes to see what was different about them. Looking for Bai Ling and Xiling was pointless. He didn't know where Xiling and Bai Ling had gone. As for the whereabouts of the Lun clan, that was also very difficult. The reincarnation sword was his only clue. Since he was already here, he might as well make the best of it. Longao took a step forward and headed forward. The vast starry sky was just too big. Even if Longao was a grade 8 starry sky cultivator, wanting to go from one positional plane to another was definitely not an easy task. Brother, may I know how to get to the Heaven-Devouring Empire? In the vast starry skies, Longao met a grade 6 starry sky cultivator and directly went over to ask for directions. To save unnecessary trouble, Longao directly released his aura, the aura of a grade 8 starry sky cultivator. In the vast starry sky, the strong were respected. It was even crueler than in the Tianwu plane. The strong were high and mighty. The weak were at the mercy of others. As expected. Sensing the powerful aura from Longao, the man's heart trembled. He smiled and said, "Brother, you're too polite." The heaven-devouring empire is very far from here. Without a token, you won't be able to enter. However, the man still told Longao the exact location of the heaven-devouring empire and told him a few things about it. Thank you. You're welcome. Goodbye. Goodbye. According to this person, the heaven-devouring empire formed by tens of thousands of small realms was an extremely powerful existence even in the entire universe. The heaven-devouring empire was located in a high-grade realm. The name of this high-grade realm was the same as the heaven-devouring empire, the heaven-devouring high-grade realm. The heaven-devouring high-grade realm was different from other high-grade realms. It was the strongest realm among the tens of thousands of small realms. There were as many experts as there were clouds in the sky. Not to mention a grade 8 starry sky cultivator, even a starry sky domain lord wouldn't dare to act recklessly here. He shrugged helplessly. Even if he stepped into such a powerful heaven-devouring plane, he would only be torturing himself. Longao had already made up his mind. He would think of a way to enter the heaven-devouring plane when he broke through to the starry sky domain lord realm. As for now, he would first find a high-grade realm to test it out. After all, other than the Tianwu plane, Longao hadn't entered any other realm. He was very curious and wanted to see what the other realms were like. Hey, what's going on? There were many realms around. Just as Longao was thinking about which one to enter, he suddenly noticed something strange in the distance. Many cultivators were rushing over as if they were rushing to a market. Did something happen? Longao also wanted to join in the fun and flew towards his target. At the entrance of a high-grade realm, many cultivators were rushing in crazily. Longao, who had just arrived, was very curious. He didn't know what was going on. The other realms were more open than the Tianwu plane. People could enter and leave as they wished. It was as if it was their own home. The Qiankuan plane was a high-grade realm. The Qiankuan plane was different from the Tianwu plane. The Tianwu plane had been dominated by 10 forces for countless years. However, the Qiankuan plane was different. There was only one supreme existence in the Qiankuan plane, the Qiankuan sect. In the Qiankuan plane, the Qiankuan sect was invincible. Although there were many small sects and families under the Qiankuan plane, they were still a little lacking compared to the colossal Qiankuan sect. The Qiankuan sect was the absolute overlord of the Qiankuan plane. Not to mention people from this plane, even cultivators from other realms wouldn't dare to act wildly in the Qiankuan plane. The reason was simple. Legend had it that the Qiankuan sect of the Qiankuan plane had a starry sky territory ancestor. With such a supreme existence, who would be stupid enough to cause trouble? Brother, what's going on in the Qiankuan plane? Why are you in such a hurry to enter? More and more people gathered, and most of them were men. The more it was so, the more curious Longao was. He didn't know what had happened in the Qiankuan plane. Why were there so many people from the starry sky territory? The man who was asked was in his 30s. In fact, he had lived for thousands of years. However, in the vast starry sky, as long as one's cultivation broke through to the starry sky territory, they could live for hundreds or thousands of years. It was very normal. No one would pay attention to your age. You don't know? He was very surprised. This person was also a level 8 starry sky territory cultivator. Although he was surprised when he sensed Longao's aura, he didn't pay much attention to it. I just came out of my plane, so I don't know. May I know your name? Spray of Plum. I'm Longao. Spray of Plum? This name was really special. Longao was a little amused. However, in the vast starry sky, there were countless starry sky territory cultivators. There must be all kinds of people. Brother Long, you don't know. In the Qiankuan Plains Qiankuan sect, it said that the eldest daughter of the master is going to have a public martial arts competition to find a husband. Think about it, if you can win the heart of the beauty and become the son-in-law of the Qiankuan sect, sigh, just thinking about it makes me excited. Martial arts competition to find a husband? Damn, Longao never thought that the Qiankuan Plains matter would be a martial arts competition to find a husband. Chapter 1989. Longao felt helpless. However, he had just entered the galaxy and had no idea where to look for Bai Ling and Xiling. He also had no idea how to reincarnate back to the clan. He might as well enter the Chenkuan plane first. Brother Long, why don't we enter together? That's what I was thinking. Longao felt that Yi Ji-mai was a good person. The two of them entered the Chenkuan plane together. Stepping into the Chenkuan plane, Longao was very surprised, because his cultivation had already broken through to grade 8 Starry Sky Cultivator. The aura he released could completely cover the entire universe plane. The Chenkuan plane was huge. It was dozens of times bigger than the Tianwu plane. What did that mean? Brother Long, you don't dare to release your aura casually. If the Chenkuan sect finds out, we will be in big trouble. Longao nodded with a smile. He was just a passerby in the Chenkuan plane. There was no need to offend the Chenkuan sect. Longao didn't have a Starry Sky Territory ancestor with him. If he met an expert above the Starry Sky Territory Emperor, he would be in big trouble. The cultivators continued to enter the Chenkuan plane. They were all heading in one direction. Let's go too. Everyone's speed was very fast, each of them like lightning. Just as Longao and Yi Ji-mai were running, a mountain peak appeared in the distance. It was a huge mountain peak. At first glance, it was so huge that it pierced through the clouds. It was a magnificent sight. At the peak of the mountain, there was a huge palace. It was even more majestic than the mountain peak. Brother Long, this is the Chenkuan Palace. It's the headquarters of the Chenkuan sect. Longao didn't need Yi Ji-mai to tell him. The Chenkuan plane was indeed a high-level plane. It wasn't something the Tianwu plane could compare to. They weren't even on the same level. When they were tens of thousands of meters away from the Chenkuan sect, all the cultivators stopped flying. They were going to walk to the Chenkuan sect. What was the meaning of this? Yi Ji-mai, what is the meaning of this? Longao and Ji of Plum Blossom also stopped flying and walked on foot like everyone else. He smiled helplessly. Brother Long, there's something you don't know. The Heaven and Earth sect has a clear rule. No matter who comes here, even if it's a territory ancestor, they have to walk within 10,000 meters. Otherwise, they will be regarded as the Heaven and Earth sect's enemy. So that was the case. This was the strength of the Chenkuan sect. If it were any other sect, would they dare to do something like this? It was just like the 10 great tripods of the Tianwu plane. No matter which supersect it was, they wouldn't dare to do that because no one would follow that rule. At the end of the day, Chenkuan sect was simply too strong. They were the one and only overlord of the Chenkuan world. The Starry Sky Territory ancestors had to follow this rule. If that was the case, Longao was sure that the Heaven and Earth sect had a territory ancestor. Moreover, it wasn't just one territory ancestor. At the very least, there were 2 territory ancestors. No wonder Chenkuan sect was so overbearing. This was the benefit of strength. There were about tens of thousands of Starry Sky cultivators who had entered the Chenkuan plane this time, and this did not include their own Starry Sky cultivators. At a glance, they were densely packed, like countless ants. It seemed like the young miss of the Chenkuan sect was very charming. As though she could see Longao's curiosity, Ji smiled and said, Brother Long, the young miss of the Chenkuan sect is called Fang Xia. She's a super genius. In just 5 years, she became a level 9 Starry Sky cultivator. Rumor has it that she's about to become a Starry Sky territory lord. 5 years, to a cultivator, was indeed a monstrous existence. Even so, she shouldn't be so charming. It's not just her talent. Fang Xia's appearance is one of the best in the entire heaven-devouring empire. It was no wonder that so many people had come to see her. Unknowingly, the two of them had arrived at the foot of the mountain. The third prince of the heaven-devouring empire, Shen Feng, is here to visit your sect. Heaven-devouring empire? Third prince. Everyone was taken aback when they saw the 2 figures darting towards them from afar. They knew what the heaven-devouring empire represented. Moreover, it was the third prince. It was no wonder the 2 of them dared to fly in the sky and only stopped when they arrived at the Chenkuan peak. If it was anyone else, they would have been killed long ago. The heaven-devouring empire was the absolute overlord of tens of thousands of small worlds. As for the Tianquan plain, not to mention the tens of thousands of small realms, even in this small realm, it was not the top existence. One could imagine how big the gap between the two was. The master of the Tianquan sect, Fang Cheng, welcomes the third prince. Please. A middle-aged man led a few elders of the Tianquan sect to welcome the third prince. Everyone shook their heads helplessly. This was the benefit of strength. Among the tens of thousands of people who had entered the Tianquan plain, there were even starry sky territory lords. So what? With the third prince's status, the Tianquan sect didn't dare to let their guard down. With the strength of the heaven-devouring empire, destroying the Tianquan sect would be a piece of cake. Everyone laughed as they walked toward the Tianquan sect. As for the remaining people, they were sent to various places. Only the starry sky territory lords or above were sent to the Tianquan peak. No one was dissatisfied with the different treatment. After all, in front of a colossus like the Tianquan sect, no one below the starry sky domain lord level would be placed in their eyes. Yi Zhimai and Longao were arranged to stay in a courtyard. At a glance, there were small courtyards everywhere. They weren't too big, but they were densely packed together, numbering in the tens of thousands. There was more than enough space for each of them. However, Longao and Ji seemed to get along very well. The two of them chose to enter their own courtyard. Brother Long, where are you from? Longao didn't tell the truth. The martial heaven continent was a sensitive place. He smiled and said, I'm from a middle-grade plane. What about you? I'm a native of the vast starry sky. A native meant that he was born in the vast starry sky. He didn't belong to any plane. Brother Long, the reason the Tianquan sect is holding this competition for Fangxia is because of the heaven-devouring empire. What do you mean? Longao was curious. He could understand why they were doing this for the heaven-devouring empire, but why would the Tianquan sect go through so much trouble? With Fangxia's talent and appearance, wouldn't it be more direct for her to go to the heaven-devouring empire? Why did they have to be so wishy-washy? Ji laughed. Brother Long, it seems you're still young. You don't understand the reason behind this. The Tianquan sect's move is vicious. Sending themselves to the heaven-devouring empire is a completely different matter. Once the Tianquan sect climbs up to the heaven-devouring empire, their power and status will soar. At that time, let alone this world, they'll be one of the top existences in tens of thousands of worlds. Author's note, here's the 6th chapter. If you have a vote, please vote for Little 9. Chapter 1990. So that was the case. Longao already understood what Yi Zhimai meant. Retreating to advance. Zhimai, since that's the case, then what are we here for? Brother Long, are you thinking of getting Fangxia? Hearing Longao's words, Spray of Plum Blossom seemed to be very surprised. He continued, of the people who came in this time, 95% of them are here to watch a show. They don't have any other thoughts. In front of the powerful heaven-devouring empire, no one had such thoughts. Not to mention others, even the universe region emperors didn't dare to touch heaven and earth sect. Heaven-devouring empire, the absolute overlord of tens of thousands of worlds. I am here to watch the show too. Heaven and earth sect, main hall. The third Prince Chen Feng smiled and said, Sect Master Fang, the reason I came here this time is mainly for Xia. What do you think? Although he was asking, his tone didn't have any intention of asking at all. Shen Feng was only a universe region lord, but he had a really strong backer. Even heaven and earth sect didn't dare to go against him. He wasn't angry at all. The reason why Fang Cheng was doing this was because of heaven-devouring empire. It didn't matter which prince it was. What was important was to climb up this tree. If that happened, heaven and earth sect would be like a carp jumping over the dragon gate. Thinking about this, Fang Cheng smiled and said, Third Prince, Xia's meaning is very simple. She wants you to publicly defeat everyone and openly marry her. In this way, Xia's face will also be bright. Proud of Xia? Or heaven and earth sect? But Shen Feng didn't point it out. The moment he thought about Fang Xia's eyebrows, he couldn't wait to get her. As for her talent, Shen Feng didn't care about it at all. In the tens of thousands of worlds, there were many talented women. But those who could compare to Fang Xia in terms of looks were rare. No problem. When will the competition begin? Tomorrow. A night of silence. The next day, morning, the moment the sun rose, the bell of heaven and earth sect rang. Everyone knew that the competition was about to begin. Under the lead of the heaven and earth sect disciples, everyone headed towards heaven and earth peak. At the peak of the peak, in front of the huge heaven and earth hall was a huge square. Not to mention tens of thousands of people, even hundreds of thousands of people wouldn't be a problem. It was a huge arena. Fang Cheng looked at the tens of thousands of people below and coughed twice. He then smiled, "Thank you all for giving face to Chenkuan sect. This time around, my daughter is holding a public duel for marriage and it is a fair one. Everyone who is not married can participate. With the deterrence of the third prince, who would dare? Unless there was water in the brain or someone who was not afraid of death, no one was willing to provoke the third prince. If it was only the third prince, no one would take him seriously. No matter what, the third prince was only a domain lord. There were plenty of people here who could kill the third prince. What they were truly afraid of was the heaven-devouring empire behind the third prince. Seeing this situation, Longao was a little speechless. Could it be that the two of them would continue to fight, and the winner would continue to accept challenges? It was too cliché. Because of the deterrence of the third prince, Chen Feng, who still dared to step onto the stage? Probably no one would be willing to do so. If Chenkuan sect was only like this, then it would be too much of a pain in the ass. However, everyone was wrong. Including the third prince, no one would have thought that this was not Fang Cheng's intention. Everyone, for the sake of fairness, the old master is prepared to open up the Chenkuan secret grounds. Anyone who wishes to participate can enter. This way, the winner will be the winner. The third prince's face instantly turned gloomy. It was as ugly as it could get. Fang Cheng's intention was simple. He wanted to raise the level of this duel for marriage. Even if he was the winner, he wanted to let the world know that Chenkuan sect was qualified. What a good Fang Cheng. What a good Chenkuan sect. Chen Feng's face regained its smile. In his opinion, if he did not win this duel, Chenkuan sect would be in for a bad time. He knew this, and so did Fang Cheng. Chenkuan secret grounds open. A black stone door appeared in midair. This was the entrance to the Chenkuan secret grounds. It was as though they were worried that no one would enter. If that was the case, Chenkuan sect would be utterly embarrassed. The Chenkuan secret grounds contains the space territory ancestor godhead. With a simple sentence, countless people began to rush into the Chenkuan secret realm, including the third prince and the old man behind the third prince, an old man who looked so weak that he could be blown away by the wind. In just a short while, 80% of the people had entered the Chenkuan secret grounds. Brother Long, how is it? How can we miss out on the space territory ancestor godhead? Alright, let's go. The two of them entered the Chenkuan secret grounds as well. As for Longao, he had no intention of participating in the duel for marriage. After all, he already had 4 beauties. There was also Yang, who he was slowly accepting. He did not want to have anyone else in his heart. Those who did not enter the Chenkuan secret realm chose to leave. The huge square, which had been packed with people just a moment ago, became empty in just a few minutes. Looking at the black stone door in front of him, Fang Cheng's face broke into a smile. In the next second, he bowed respectfully, "Old ancestor." Old ancestor Chenkuan was an extremely old man. He was also the space territory ancestor in charge of the Chenkuan sect. He nodded his head and said, "Remember, there is a limit to what you can do. Even though we want to use the third prince to create momentum, we can't go overboard. Otherwise, it might backfire." Old ancestor Chenkuan continued, "When it's about time, send people into the Chenkuan secret grounds to help the third prince. Remember, no matter what happens, Shen Feng must win this time. Old ancestor, will we offend the heaven-devouring empire this time? We have to be quick. No one knows what will happen next. Only by climbing up the heaven-devouring empire can we be free of worries. Furthermore, our Fang family has not improved for hundreds of millions of years. We can use this opportunity to rise to the next level and become one of the super sects in the tens of thousands of worlds. Gamble. If they won, the Qianquan sect would rise to the next level. If they lost, they would be in deep trouble. However, the Qianquan sect had been silent for a long time. It was time for them to rise. Old ancestor, father, I want to enter the Qianquan secret grounds too. At this time, the peerless beauty Fang Xia suddenly appeared. Even Yu Yin and Ao Shui couldn't compare to her beauty. Only Bai Ling could contend against her. No wonder the third prince was willing to personally come here. This kind of peerless beauty was something that all men would want to obtain. Author's note, Chapter 7 delivered. Chapter 1991. Xia, you still haven't broken through to the Starry Sky Domain Lord level. If you rashly go in, I'm afraid you'll be in danger. Without experience, even if you break through, what can you do? Fang Cheng seemed to want to say something, but was stopped by Ancestor Heaven and Earth. Go. Thank you, Ancestor. Afraid that Fang Cheng would stop her, Fang Xia lifted her shoulder and disappeared through the entrance. Forefather. He waved his hand. Universe Ancestor smiled and said, Universe Secret Domain has the space god beast I tamed back then. Xia will be fine. 3 days later, send 10 Starry Sky region emperors into the Universe Secret Domain. Yes. Since the old ancestor had said so, what else could he say? Inside the Yin-Yang Secret Realm. This time, everyone who entered the Universe Secret Domain would be considered the winner as long as they could obtain the Universal Ancestor Godhead. Not only could he get the Universal Star Territory Ancestor's Godhead, but he could also win the beauty's heart. Brother Long, be careful. What happened? Longao was very curious. Could it be that there was danger in the Qianquan secret realm? Brother Long, there's something you don't know. Even if you don't attack others, others will take the initiative to attack you and refine your primordial spirit into a starry sky godhead in exchange for what they need. So that was the case. There was also a market in the vast starry sky, but the most common item in the vast starry sky was none other than the starry sky godhood. Before Longao and Eiji Plumblossom could continue talking, a grade 9 starry sky cultivator rushed towards the two of them at a very fast speed. Brother Long, let's go. Spray of Plumblossom was well aware of the other party's strength. Even if the two of them worked together, they would not be a match for the other party. But Longao stood still. Yiji Mai, are you a grade 8 starry sky cultivator now? He nodded. Spray of Plumblossom was completely dumbfounded. What did Longao mean by asking him? At this time, Longao did not run with him, but instead asked if he was a grade 8 starry sky cultivator. Whether or not he was a grade 8 starry sky cultivator, don't you know? Spray of Plumblossom was kind enough to not leave on his own. It was precisely because of this that Spray of Plumblossom did not know that this action of his had brought him a great opportunity. Yiji Mai, I'll help you refine a rank 9 starry sky godhead. Although his strength had not reached the level of a starry sky domain lord, Longao did not fear a grade 9 starry sky cultivator. The grade 9 starry sky cultivator arrived in the blink of an eye. Seeing that the two of them didn't run away, the man seemed a little surprised. Whoosh, whoosh. The two class 9 starry sky soul slaves immediately rushed out, not giving the man any chance to react. They immediately started attacking him. Spray of Plumblossom was completely dumbfounded. He never expected that Longao would suddenly summon 2 grade 9 starry sky cultivators. No wonder Longao was so fearless. The result was obvious. 1 against 2. With the man killed in an instant, Longao didn't hesitate and immediately started refining the starry sky god deity. A plum blossom for you. After receiving the grade 9 starry sky godhead, Yiji Mai was pleasantly surprised. Without any hesitation, he immediately devoured the starry sky godhead. In just a few months, his cultivation would break through to grade 9 Starry Sky Cultivator. Longao, the 2 Starry Sky Cultivators you just summoned seemed a little different. Yijimai could sense that the 2 grade 9 Starry Sky Cultivators summoned by Longao didn't leak any aura at all. It was as if they were dead people. What the hell is going on? Longao didn't hide much and said, "A few years ago, I obtained a secret technique that can refine a person's essence spirit into a soul slave. Not only can it improve one's strength, but it can also improve one's defensive power by a lot." He was shocked. This secret technique was simply invincible. However, Yijimai didn't feel jealous or envious. Everyone had their own opportunities. Longao could obtain this kind of opportunity because of his own luck. The two of them didn't continue on their journey. Instead, Yijimai started devouring the grade 9 Starry Sky Godhead. With Longao's help, the refining speed increased rapidly. However, it wasn't easy to break through to grade 9 Starry Sky Cultivator in a short time. Yijimai knew that he wouldn't be able to break through to grade 9 Starry Sky Cultivator even if he continued to refine the Godhead. He had to wait for the right time. Third Prince Shenfeng. Just as the two of them were about to continue on their journey to find the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead, they suddenly saw Shenfeng killing the cultivators in the distance. Shenfeng's arrogant face disappeared after he retrieved the Starry Sky Primordial Spirit. With the heaven-devouring empire as his backing, Shenfeng is too arrogant. He can kill whoever he wants. Yijimai was dissatisfied with Shenfeng's actions. However, no matter what, Shenfeng wouldn't have dared to do this without the heaven-devouring empire's backing. With our current strength, it's not time for us to fight Shenfeng head-on. However, we will in the future. Longao hated people like Shenfeng. However, he didn't want to provoke the third prince for no reason. His goal was to find Bai Ling and Xiling. He also wanted to find Lun Ren and his clan so that he could figure out his identity. If he offended the third prince, it would be equivalent to offending the heaven-devouring empire. He would be in big trouble if that happened. If that happened, it would delay his search for Bai Ling and Xiling. If the two of them were at their peak, Longao wouldn't be worried at all. However, the situation was different now. Whether it was Xiling or Bai Ling, their primordial spirits were severely injured. If they encountered an expert, they would be in big trouble. The vast starry sky was completely different from the Tianwu plain. In the vast starry sky cultivators could be found everywhere. Any one of them was a super expert. The more it was so, the more worried Longao was. He couldn't wait to find the two of them. "I'm just complaining. The heaven-devouring empire is something we can't touch. Even the Qianquan sect wouldn't dare to offend the heaven-devouring empire, let alone you and me. With a single order, tens of thousands of lesser realms would come to our aid." Yijimai smiled helplessly. Longao and Yijimai did not continue to dwell on this matter. They continued to search for the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors' Godhead's whereabouts. It wasn't that they wanted to obtain Fangxia, but the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors' Godhead's allure was too great. Yijimai naturally wanted to devour the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead. That way, he would be able to become a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor in the future. As for Longao, even if he didn't devour the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead himself, he could keep it. When he returned to the Tianwu plain, he could let his family devour the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead. In fact, no one knew that the Qianquan sect had taken out the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead because of the third prince. It was also a greeting gift to Shenfeng. Otherwise, the Qianquan sect wouldn't be so generous. After all, this was a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead, not a cabbage. Author's note: delivery to Chapter 8. Chapter 1992. The Universal Domain Ancestor Godhead had already been decided and it would be Shenfeng's. Everyone understood this principle. Even if they knew, they were still unwilling. What if they were lucky enough to get the Universal Domain Ancestor Godhead? Taking a step back, even if they couldn't get the Universal Domain Ancestor Godhead, they wouldn't be at a disadvantage. Would the Chenkuan sect dare to make a move? Even if the Chenkuan sect was strong, they wouldn't dare to kill the people here. The consequences would be unimaginable if they angered the crowd. Xia, I'm really happy to see you. Shen Feng, who was looking for the universal domain ancestor godhead, saw Fang Xia and his eyes turned blue. He couldn't wait to get Fang Xia. Fang Xia's beauty was earth-shattering. She said with disgust, Shen Feng, if you want to marry me, you'll have to get the universal domain ancestor godhead. Otherwise, don't even think about it. He was proud and arrogant. Fang Xia was a grade 9 starry sky cultivator and was not an opponent of the other party. However, she had full confidence that in her territory, even if the other party's identity was not ordinary, he would not dare to touch her. She turned and walked away, ignoring him. She was furious. As the third prince of the heaven-devouring empire, he had always been high and mighty. He could have any woman he wanted. Since when did anyone dare to treat him like this? Third prince, I'll help you guard the area. You can do whatever you want. Thank you. Old Mo was a super expert who came with the third prince. He was a peak universe domain emperor and had the help of a super universe god artifact. How could the third prince not know what old Mo was thinking? He chuckled. As the third prince of the heaven-devouring empire, his talent and strength were terrifying. Shen Feng took a step forward and stood in front of Fang Xia. Get lost. The more Shen Feng acted like this, the more disgusted Fang Xia was. Xia, if we do it now, will you still object? Shen Feng wasn't sure if he could get the universal domain ancestor godhead. If he couldn't, wouldn't he lose the competition? He wouldn't allow himself to lose. The only way was to take Fang Xia on the spot. In that case, it wouldn't matter if he couldn't get the universal domain ancestor godhead. Shen Feng didn't care about the consequences. So what if the Chenkuan sect knew about it? What could he do to her? As the third prince of the heaven-devouring empire, even the Chenkuan sect wouldn't dare to kill him. Instantly, Fang Xia understood what he meant, and her face instantly turned cold. Not wanting to continue being entangled, he wanted to walk in another direction, but he was stopped by Shen Feng. Ha ha ha, come on. One could not wait any longer, while the other would rather die than comply. That would depend on who was stronger. And the result? One was a rank 9 starry sky cultivator, while the other was a starry sky domain lord. Their strength was clear at a glance. Not to mention, old Mo was standing guard in the distance. Even if someone passed by, old Mo would drive them away or even kill them. Shen Feng, do you know what you are doing right now? Ha ha ha, of course I know. Xia, I want you. With his powerful strength, he had already taken control of Fang Xia. As long as Fang Xia didn't commit suicide, Shen Feng's chances of success were 100%. Would Fang Xia commit suicide? Fang Xia was extremely afraid right now. She had not expected the other party to really do this. After all, this was the Chenkuan secret ground, the territory of the Chenkuan sect. Even if the other party had the backing of the heaven-devouring empire, how was he going to answer to the Chenkuan sect? The Chenkuan sect will not let you off. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha. Hearing Fang Xia's words, Shen Feng burst out laughing maniacally. If he was afraid of the Chenkuan sect, he wouldn't have done this. Right from the start, Shen Feng had never taken the Chenkuan sect seriously. Even if the old master of the Chenkuan sect were to come down personally, he wouldn't be afraid. The Chenkuan sect might be strong in this small world, but compared to the tens of thousands of other small worlds, they were nothing, let alone the heaven-devouring empire. The two of them weren't even on the same level. A gigantic tent appeared. Shen Feng's intentions were clear. He was going to execute her on the spot. Was she going to commit suicide? Don't come over. Don't come over. Shen Feng laughed coldly. So what if she was a goddess? He was going to make her beg for death later on. Shen Feng chose to ignore it as he approached Fang Xia. Just as the two of them were less than a meter apart, a laughter rang out. Who's there? The moment old Mo heard the voice, he rushed over as well. Looking at the two of them approaching slowly, both old Mo and Shen Feng were surprised. 2 level 8 cultivators? Did the other party have the guts of a leopard? How dare he interfere in their affairs? Who are you guys? Spray of Plum Blossom was extremely frustrated right now. He did not know what was wrong with Longao. Even if he wanted to be the hero to save the damsel in distress, he had to check the other party's status first. He was the third prince of the heaven-devouring empire. If the two of them were to offend someone like this, there would be endless trouble waiting for them in the future. However, Spray of Plum Blossom was a man who valued his friends. Therefore, he had to brace himself and step out. Who we are has nothing to do with you. Shenfeng, I'm just puzzled. You're the third prince of the heaven-devouring empire. How could you do such a despicable thing? If I were you, I'd just kill myself. Living is a waste of time. Shenfeng sneered. As for Spray of Plum Blossom, he did not dare to show the slightest bit of mockery. If he had the chance, he would leave immediately. However, since they had already provoked Shenfeng, he could only brace himself and bear with it. Spray of Plum Blossom truly regarded Longao as a friend. Otherwise, he would not have stepped out this time. In Spray of Plum Blossom's opinion, if Longao could give him a level 9 cosmic godhead, how could an ordinary person do that? Even if they were friends, could they do it? Instead of getting angry, he laughed. The two of you really don't know what's good for you. But don't worry, I'll let the two of you have a good time. Didn't you want to be the hero to save the damsel in distress? Then, I'll let you experience it. I'll take care of the goddess in your hearts right in front of you. In Shenfeng's opinion, the two of them must have taken the risk to come out because they liked Fang Xia. The more they thought about it, the more excited he felt. He gave Old Mo a signal to continue. As for Old Mo, he stood there motionlessly. Brother Long, don't be reckless. Even if the two of them joined hands, they would not be a match for a Cosmic Realm Emperor expert. If they acted recklessly, only death would await them. In the face of death, even Spray of Plum Blossom was afraid. Author's note, copy of Chapter 9. Chapter 1993. Continue, or give up. Was it worth it to offend the third prince of the heaven-devouring empire for an unrelated person? Originally, Longao didn't want to care, but Shenfeng's way of doing things was really too disgusting. He himself also hated this person very much. As for her beauty, Longao didn't choose to fight because of her beauty. Spray of Plum, leave first. If we leave together. If we stay together. Spray of Plum instantly understood Longao's intention. Since things had already come to this, wouldn't he be looked down upon by others if he chose to back out? With just the two of you? Elder Mo sneered. As the Universal Domain Emperor, he wouldn't be afraid even if his opponent was a cultivator of the same level, let alone a mere level 8 cultivator. Humiliation. Whether it was Elder Mo or Shenfeng, it was obvious that they were humiliating them. How could Longao and Spray of Plum not know this? Attack. Spray of Plum didn't move because Longao knew the difference in strength between them. If Spray of Plum attacked, he wouldn't be able to contend against Elder Mo and Shenfeng. He would blame himself if he harmed his friend. With a stride forward, Longao's figure had already disappeared from where he was before the other party could react. Spatial teleportation? Elder Mo was shocked. Elder Mo didn't expect Lin Fan to be able to teleport. Even if that was the case, so what? Was Lin Fan trying to defeat him with speed? What a joke. When Longao got close, Elder Mo released the forbidden power of the universal domain to suppress Longao. The absolute suppression of power forced Longao to retreat. But it didn't matter. Although he didn't have a universal domain emperor or universal domain ancestor soul slave, he had a universal domain emperor soul slave. This was the reason why Longao dared to attack so recklessly. 10 Starry Sky region emperors took advantage of the situation and surrounded Old Mo. 1 against 10. Under normal circumstances, with Elder Mo's strength as a Starry Sky region emperor, killing 10 Starry Sky region emperors was simply a matter of minutes. But now, the situation was completely different. The 10 Starry Sky Domain Emperors were all Starry Sky Domain Emperors. Their strength aside, Elder Mo could not completely destroy all 10 of them in terms of defense. As such, Elder Mo was completely entangled by the 10 Starry Sky Domain Emperor's soul slaves. You. Shun Feng said you 3 times because he didn't expect his opponent to be so powerful that he could summon dozens of Starry Sky Domain Emperors. Moreover, his defensive power was so strong that he seemed to be able to ignore Elder Mo's attack. Is this true? Shun Feng couldn't quite believe what he was seeing. If you can defeat me, I will leave immediately. Looking at the arrogant young man, Fang Xia's expression changed again and again. It seemed a little strange. Women like to play the hero to save the damsel in distress. Although the strength of the other party was not that great, the surprise he gave her was too big. Being able to summon dozens of Starry Sky region emperors at the same time, it was easy to imagine the identity of the other party. What right do you have? Just based on this. 2 Starry Sky Domain Emperor soul slaves appeared at the same time. There was almost no need to fight, and they had already taken control of Shun Feng. At this time, as long as Longao was willing, he could kill Shun Feng at any time, and Shun Feng would not even have a chance to fight back. Who are you? You dare to do it, but you don't dare to admit it. Shun Feng couldn't figure out why someone in this world dared to deal with him. As the 3rd prince of the heaven-devouring empire, he was a lofty existence no matter where he went. Not to mention others, even the Starry Sky Domain Emperors would have to avoid him. They wouldn't dare to provoke him. Could it be that he was dealing with someone from another empire? It shouldn't be. In the vast starry sky, there were many powerful empires. In the entire vast starry sky, the heaven-devouring empire was definitely not the strongest existence. It hadn't reached the point where it could dominate the starry sky. Longao. Shun Feng had never heard of this name, but he was very afraid of death. He smiled and said, Longao, there is no hatred between you and me. Aren't you just interested in Fang Xia? No problem, I choose to give her to you. Elder Mo, let's go. The 10 Starry Sky soul slaves didn't continue to attack and disappeared on the spot. Elder Mo's face was gloomy. How could he be suppressed by a puny level 8 Starry Sky cultivator? If this matter were to spread, where would his face go? See you later. Shun Feng didn't want to stay any longer. He didn't know how many Starry Sky Domain Emperors the other party had. What if there were 10 more of them? How could he deal with them? Elder Mo might not be afraid, but it was impossible for him not to be. Although he wanted to obtain the goddess, in the face of death, Shun Feng chose to retreat. As the saying went, there would be plenty of opportunities in the future. As long as he wanted to, he could kill Longao at any time. There was no need to show off and lose his life. Longao did not chase because he had full confidence that he could kill Shun Feng. However, he did not have full confidence that he could kill Elder Hiroshi. Once Elder Hiroshi escaped, the matter of him killing Shun Feng would be leaked out. At that time, he would be in great trouble. Looking at the gradually disappearing figure, Iji Mai sighed. Fortunately, Longao didn't make a move. If he really killed Shun Feng, the 2 of them could already imagine the consequences. Young master, what is your name? Longao. Many thanks for saving our lives. If you want to obtain the Starry Sky Domain Ancestor Godhead, follow me. Ah! Both Iji Mai and Longao were dumbfounded when they heard Fang Xia's words. Both of them weren't fools. They knew what Fang Xia meant by giving them the Starry Sky Domain Ancestor Godhead for free. Didn't that mean that Fang Xia had her eyes on Longao? Brother Long, congratulations. You can win the heart of a beauty. F***ck Longao cursed in his heart. He had only wanted to teach the 3rd prince a lesson, but he didn't have the heart to provoke Fang Xia. Before Longao could say anything, Fang Xia said, follow me. Don't get lost. Iji Mai's face was filled with envy and jealousy. He sighed and followed after Huang Xiaolong. Longao, who was left behind, felt depressed. However, since things had come to this, he could only wait and explain. Although he couldn't accept Fang Xia's words, he could obtain the Starry Sky Domain Ancestor Godhead. After all, the Starry Sky Domain Ancestor Godhead was very important to him. The two of them followed Fang Xia to a secluded place. She took out the Starry Sky Domain Ancestor Godhead and handed it to Longao. "Many thanks for saving us. I will wait for you outside." Fang Xia didn't wait for Longao's reply. She turned and left. In a short while, she disappeared without a trace. "I really envy you. You just entered the vast universe and you already have such a beauty. Brother Ben Guolong, I advise you to be careful. Shen Feng definitely won't let this matter rest." Author's note: Chapter 10 has been delivered. Everyone, please vote for Longao. Little 9 thanks. Chapter 1994. Since things had come to this, what else could he do? He could only wait until he left the universe secret realm and explain everything to the Cosmos sect. Longao knew that he would be in big trouble if he didn't explain everything clearly. One day later, Fang Cheng suddenly received a spiritual consciousness transmission from the old ancestor. Someone had obtained the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead and the universe secret realm was about to end. Who could it be? Could it be Shen Feng? When everyone was teleported out, their faces were filled with confusion. They did not know what had happened. "Third Prince, did you not obtain the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead?" Fang Cheng was shocked when he realized that the third prince did not obtain the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead. This was completely out of his expectations. The third prince harumphed coldly but did not say a word. Even though the Cosmos sect was not to be blamed for this, the third prince had already placed all the blame on the Cosmos sect. "May I know who obtained the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead?" Fang Cheng was furious. He did not know which idiot dared to snatch the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead. If he had known that this would happen, he would have entered the universe secret realm earlier to help the third prince obtain the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead. "I'm sorry. I got it by accident." Everyone looked in the direction where the voice came from and saw Longao. "Please come up." Even though Fang Cheng was furious, he forced himself to suppress his anger. When Longao came up, Fang Cheng's heart turned cold. How did a mere grade 8 Starry Sky cultivator manage to obtain the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead? When Shen Feng saw Longao, his face turned even colder as killing intent surged. He was shocked. What did the third prince mean? Did they know each other? At this moment, Shen Feng suddenly said, "Master Fang, this person sneaked up on me and snatched the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead from me. This Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead originally belonged to me." Would Fang Cheng believe it? Even the others would not believe it, let alone Fang Cheng. It was a joke. The strength of the two and Longao were not on the same level. Even if it was a sneak attack, Longao would not succeed. That wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that Shen Feng had insisted that the Godhead in Huang Xiaolong's hands belonged to him. If it had been anyone else, the Cosmos sect wouldn't have cared. "Who are you?" "Longao." Fang Cheng suppressed the anger in his heart and said with a smile, "Longao, since you planned a sneak attack to snatch the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead from the third prince, please hand it over. This Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead should belong to the third prince." "My grass." Hearing Fang Cheng's words, everyone began to curse in their hearts. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen someone so shameless. As the master of the Qiankuan sect, Fang Cheng's shamelessness was truly an eye-opener. But thinking about it, everyone understood. After all, the third prince and the heaven-devouring empire were still there. The Qiankuan sect dared to provoke the heaven-devouring empire. It was understandable. Everyone looked at Longao with sympathy. It wasn't easy for him to obtain the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead. They had thought that he would be able to devour the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead and win the beauty back. But what was the result? "I'm sorry. I have already devoured the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead." Everyone wanted to laugh. However, no one was shocked or doubtful. If they were able to obtain the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead, they would definitely devour the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor Godhead before they could win the beauty back. Fang Cheng almost went berserk. That was a starry sky territory ancestor godhead, not some cabbage. However, things had already come to this. Even if he wanted to kill Huang Xiaolong, it wasn't the right time. The Qiankuan sect's reputation was more important. Since that's the case, let's talk about this later. The starry sky territory ancestor godhead was obtained by the third prince. Do you have any objections to this? I have objections. Fang Xia walked over and looked coldly at the third prince. After thinking about it, Fang Xia still didn't want to announce what had happened in the Qiankuan secret domain to the world. If she angered the third prince, the consequences would be unimaginable. If the heaven-devouring empire wanted to punish her, even the Qiankuan sect wouldn't be able to stop them. Xia, what do you mean? Father, we have already made it clear. No matter who obtained the starry sky territory ancestor godhead, he would be the winner of the martial competition. Since Longao obtained the starry sky territory ancestor godhead, he is the winner. What did that mean? Could Fang Xia have taken a liking to Longao? Everyone looked at Longao with envy. Not only had he devoured the starry sky territory ancestor godhead, but he had also obtained the beauty's favor. It was a double blessing. Longao, where is the starry sky territory ancestor godhead? Before Fang Cheng could say anything, Fang Xia asked. After all, only the starry sky territory ancestor godhead could resolve this matter. Otherwise, if the other party couldn't produce the starry sky territory ancestor godhead, both her father and the third prince wouldn't admit it. Longao took out the starry sky territory ancestor godhead and handed it over to Fang Xia. Everyone understood what was going on. The other party didn't devour the starry sky territory ancestor godhead. He was obviously trying to win the beauty's heart. Wasn't he trying to snatch the starry sky territory ancestor godhead from the third prince? Sigh, he was simply courting death. Moreover, the Qiankuan sect was obviously helping the third prince and not Longao. Longao, what do you mean by this? Longao smiled and didn't say anything. He wasn't going to give the third prince a chance. As for himself, he definitely wouldn't marry Fang Xia. He had to deal with the third prince first. Father, since Longao has obtained the starry sky territory ancestor godhead, it means that Longao has won the competition. Fang Xia had her eyes on Longao. In her opinion, Shen Feng was only the third prince of the heaven-devouring empire and not the successor. Compared to Longao, she would still choose Longao over Shen Feng. Third prince. Temph, Master Fang, I would like to see what you're going to do today. It was a blatant threat. Shen Feng had already lost all his face. If Longao really got Fang Xia, he wouldn't be able to save his face. Fang Cheng was helpless and was in a dilemma. On one side was his daughter and on the other side was the third prince. Fang Cheng scolded himself harshly. What should he do? Gritting his teeth, just as Fang Cheng was about to give up on the third prince, a figure suddenly appeared in the distance. It was extremely fast and appeared in the blink of an eye. Seeing the old man who had suddenly descended, the third prince Chen Feng suddenly stood up in pleasant surprise and shouted in pleasant surprise, "Master, why have you come?" The third prince's master, Shao, was a famous existence in the heaven-devouring empire. Everyone was shocked when they saw him. Author's note, Little 9 is going all out. I hope everyone can vote for him. Chapter 1995. Territory Ancestor Shao. Everybody understood that this formidable territory ancestor of the starry sky had come for his disciple. Brother Qian Kuan, your old brother is here. Aren't you going to come out and meet me? As soon as he said that, a hearty laugh was heard. In the next second, Ancestor Qian Kuan appeared and said with a smile, Brother Shao, I apologize for not coming out to meet you. Please take a seat. Shao and Ancestor Qian Kuan sat down and Shao said with a smile, My disciple likes Xia, but he didn't expect someone to come out and cause trouble. As his master, if I didn't come out, my disciple's wife would have run away. Fang Xia, who was firm, was surprised to see territory ancestor Shao Cheng. What's going on? Fang Cheng didn't hesitate and told Ancestor Qian Kuan everything that had happened. Ancestor Shao snorted coldly. How can such a person become a member of our Chen Kuan sect? Ancestor Chen Kuan denied Longao's claim. If it was before, Fang Xia would have refuted. But now, Fang Xia didn't say anything as she wanted to see. Brother Shaoxing, you didn't come just for this, right? Ha ha ha, you're still a sly old fox. I'll get straight to the point. I'm here because of His Majesty. His Majesty? Everyone knew who His Majesty was. He was the Emperor of the Heaven-Devouring Empire, the absolute overlord of tens of thousands of worlds. As long as His Majesty stomped his feet, tens of thousands of worlds would tremble. What's the matter? Ancestor Chen Kuan didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, but he had a feeling that Territory Ancestor Shaoxing's matter was good news. Brother Chen Kuan, His Majesty values this marriage. He promised that as long as the third prince and seer get married, Chen Kuan's sect will be the #1 sect in this world. #1? Everyone knew what that meant. As long as the marriage was successful, Chen Kuan's sect would become the #1 sect in this world. They would be lying if they said they weren't excited. Brother Chen Kuan, that's not all. Even though the third prince is unable to become the successor of the Heaven-Devouring Empire, he has already been bestowed the title of king. The third prince, Chen Feng, was completely stupefied because he'd never imagined that his imperial father would actually do this for him. His status instantly soared. Master, you don't know, but Xia has already chosen Longao. Retreat in order to advance. Shen Feng wanted to see what Fang Xia's intentions were as well. If Fang Xia were to choose Longao and not give him any face, there was no need for him to show any mercy either. By then, it wouldn't just be this adulterous couple, but the entire Chen Kuan sect would be destroyed as well. Fang Xia's expression changed again and again. All of a sudden, she smiled and said, Senior Shaoxing, old ancestor, father, I didn't know that Longao's godhead was obtained through a scheme. Now that I know, how can I marry a scum like him? Scum? He didn't know. Fang Xia was completely shocked by how fast she had changed. Was she still the goddess in everyone's heart? Everyone knew what Fang Xia was trying to say. If Shaoxing hadn't appeared, Fang Xia would have definitely chosen Longao. However, her attitude had changed after Shaoxing's appearance. Especially when Shaoxing brought the Heaven-Devouring Empire's message, Fang Xia had completely changed her mind. Fang Xia knew that if she chose Longao and offended the third prince, not only her, but the entire Chen Kuan sect would be destroyed. But what if she chose the third prince? The third prince's status was different now. His Imperial Majesty had sent a universal domain ancestor to make a promise. This meant that the third prince's status in the Heaven-Devouring Empire wasn't simple. If she could climb up this big tree, she would be able to go far in the future. Longao smiled. He had never expected Fang Xia to change so quickly. It didn't matter. After all, he wouldn't marry Fang Xia. He had a clear conscience and wasn't letting himself down. Longao, you ambushed me in the Chen Kuan secret realm. How do you want to settle this debt? With a backer, Shen Feng wouldn't let Longao off so easily. There was no explanation. Under such circumstances, no matter how much they accepted, it would be pointless. It was understandable that Chen Kuan's sect and Fang Xia would choose the Heaven-Devouring Empire. Goodbye. Longao didn't want to waste any more words. He felt disgusted, especially by Fang Xia. He wasn't saying that Fang Xia would choose the Heaven-Devouring Empire, but he was disgusted by how quickly she changed her mind. Trying to leave. Shen Feng stood up and sneered. If Longao left the Chen Kuan plain at this time, where would he put his face? Where would the Chen Kuan sect's face be? Where would the Heaven-Devouring Empire's face be? What do you want? I think it's better for you to never leave. Old Mo, who was behind Shen Feng, suddenly came out to kill. A terrifying murderous aura rolled out. Old Mo and Shen Feng's intention was already very clear, that was to kill Longao and make him stay here forever. Even though everyone in the square looked down on the Chen Kuan sect and the third prince, they chose to leave in fear of the other party's strength. What if they were implicated in the conflict? In the blink of an eye, everyone had left. Ji Mai, who was about to attack, heard Longao's message through his spiritual consciousness. He immediately turned around and left with the others. After a while, the square was empty. Spray of Plum Blossom didn't know how Longao was going to leave, but this young man had too many mysteries. Spray of Plum Blossom knew that if Longao wasn't completely confident, he wouldn't do this. Just like that, Spray of Plum Blossom chose to believe him and quickly left with the others. As the Universal Territory Emperor, Elder Mo wasn't afraid of Longao. To show off in front of Shoxing, Elder Mo used all his strength. But what was the result? Longao was here a moment ago, but now, he had disappeared without a trace. Not only Old Mo, but also the others, including the Territory Ancestor of Heaven and Earth and the Territory Ancestor of Sandstar, were dumbstruck. How could he disappear right under their noses? They couldn't figure it out. Brother Qianquan, where did he come from? A level 8 Starry Sky cultivator could use such a secret skill. His background wasn't simple. Ancestor Qianquan didn't know who he was. Even Fang Xia and Fang Cheng didn't know. He seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. Shaking his head helplessly, Ancestor Qianquan said, "His background is mysterious. Let's seal the Qianquan Plain and find him." Although they could leave, they were confident that Longao hadn't left the Qianquan Plain yet. Author's note: here's the 12th chapter. If you still have votes, please vote for Longao. Little 9 thanks. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.